Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 431. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, alongside Johnny V.
We're breaking some news today.
We are, and they'll probably be breaking other stuff as well, besides news.
More than likely, probably some hearts,
Yes.
some minds, some bad. Are we going to be breaking bad later?
Probably. Could be a little bit of that. Man.
Start a meth lab behind the curtain here?
Got to pay the bills somehow.
You know?
Welcome in, everyone. Tonight, in just a few moments, in fact, we're going to have one Alden Harris. He's going to be joining us. We always talk about how it's contract time and plenty of players moving, shifting, some renewing, some entirely switching, whatever the case might be. It sounds like we've got an exclusive update coming out of Alden Harris and his camp. So excited to have him join us in just a few minutes. And then also, not that we want you to direct your eyes elsewhere, but it has been officially released, all of the action from this weekend's Cold Turkey 17 presented by Innova.
It's what everyone's been waiting for.
They have. They were like,
the Kenosha
man,
C tier of all C tiers.
They're thinking, gosh, if this stupid football or soccer thing would just get done so I could watch some C tier action in southeastern Wisconsin. And I've come through. It's out there and it is available. Our champion from the Cold Turkey 17, he will be joining us shortly after Alden parts ways from us tonight. So it's tough to find headliners, but one way or another, we're going to see how it's going to go down tonight. But in all seriousness, excited to have the Cold Turkey champ join us. Spoiler / clue, he has been on the show before. That could be a lot of people. We're 431 into these. I know. Anyway, so that's what we'll talk about. It is a very, very mild day here in Wisconsin. Temperatures pushing into the mid-50s. Not exactly what you expect at the end of November here, but
this is kind of what I expect. Right about this.
You expect 55 degrees on December 1st.
I expect about 48. 48 degrees.
No, what planet do you live
48
on?
degrees.
This is Earth.
I know.
It's heating up, but this is still planet Earth.
I know. My philosophy has always been no snow before Thanksgiving, no snow after St. Patty's Day.
What did you just say? Oh my gosh, I have to bust you out on this.
The
average temp on November 29th.
Yeah.
In Wisconsin.
I'm going to guess its average temp is probably going to be about 42 degrees.
I think you're crazy.
Oh, geez.
Let me look.
This is great. This is great podcasting.
It really is. Average. Wow, you are more accurate than not. I will give you that.
Okay, that's like saying you're right, John. You can say
it's
that.
Close to
you can say you're right.
You're not
John.
entirely wrong. All right. Anyway, 55 is still far away from 42.
It is correct. 55 is unseasonably warm for today.
All right, well, it's warm out. And what else is warm is this gentleman. I don't know what kind of segue that is, but we've got Alden Harris coming in from Georgia, I believe. Alden, welcome, buddy. How you doing?
What's up? Doing good. How are y'all?
It's hot here. I mean, so hot here, Alden. What are the temps like down in Georgia? And is it right on average?
Right around mid-50s. It's not too bad.
Yeah, so our temp today should not be matching Georgia's. I think that's a fair statement. Nonetheless,
maybe they're a little chilly there.
Welcome in. We had you a few months ago? What were we talking about? You won. You won, right?
He won the Silver Series event.
Yeah, you did.
Have I been on here?
I think you have.
Well, you did.
I feel like I have.
Come on.
Yeah, and you did stop in on the Gannon interview as well. You were in the hotel room. You popped in there, sat, and did that as well. So,
well, welcome in. Now, one thing that we're talking about quite a bit in the off season is, of course, contract extensions, brand new contracts, multi-year deals, short-term deals, a little bit of everything. Disc golf was so basic and normal for so many years of like, oh, I re-sign, I'm with this company for 1 year, I'll be back next year. I feel like a lot of that's been kind of thrown out the window and anything goes. But we also now have this advancement or this advent of actual representation. So let's start there because we're seeing players often represented and or have some either agent or agency that is representing them. Where are you in this world, being the up and coming stud that you are? I was going to say prodigy. That was all too obvious. But where are you in this in the world of representation?
Yeah, so up until this year, I've had no one representing me just because I turned pro and just a few years ago, and I was already in a contract. But then going into this off season, I was a free agent, so I knew I needed someone to help me with it, and I contacted Ted Nalen, who has been so helpful. He's been helping me with all the business side of disc golf. It's all new to me, so he's been great.
Now, did you seek representation just to make it, I guess maybe that's why everyone does, make it easier on yourself, or did you not feel comfortable with the negotiations, or did you feel you were going to get a better deal with an agent? What was the reasoning behind going specifically to an agent?
Yeah, kind of all of the above. Like I said, I didn't really know the business side of disc golf. I had no idea what it was all about. So having someone to help represent me, help me get a better deal because he knew the market a little bit better. And yeah.
Well, how much of that, you said you didn't necessarily know it, but did it scare you or frighten you? Or are you the kind of guy that's like, no, I want to be part of that and those conversations? Or are you really comfortable saying, no, I want to concern myself with, maybe my social media presence and my play, and I want all of that, on someone else's shoulders? I mean, do you feel like you want to be hands-on with it, or are you good kind of having a layer in between you?
I like kind of giving that to Ted a little bit, just because during this off season I've really focused a lot on my training, and I know all the contract stuff would take up a lot of time and make me very stressful. So yeah, kind of let him take care of it, which was great.
All right. Well, so this year, let's back up and let's talk a little bit about 2022 before we, and the previous years, before we talk about your future. But
I think, spoiler alert on his future for those of you that are watching, you can see what he's wearing.
Well, he's under contract. We talked about that last week. A lot of times the contracts I know go until the end of the year. We'll get to that, but assess 2022 in terms of your play and either accomplishments, goals met, whatever the case might be. Assess 2022 a little bit for us.
Well, my first touring season was 2021, and it went well. I had a couple good events, nothing too crazy. I cashed it, I think, the majority of my events. So I just kind of wanted to do better than I did the year before going into this past season, and I feel like I did that. I improved a lot on different parts of my game, got more top 20, top 10 finishes, and then also had a couple wins. So I think it went well. Still not where I want to be, but it was a good start.
And coming into 2022, of course, you want to improve on what you did from 2021. What specifically do you feel like was, hey, this is going to get me to the next level, or this is going to, drive home my consistency? What are some of the things that you were really concerned about coming into the season?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I learned in 2021, because it was like I said, it was first year on tour, first time playing these championship level courses. They are not like your local courses. They have so much danger. They're so scary to play. So I was kind of going through 2021 just trying to play them like a local course, which you just cannot do. So I think going into 2022 season, I just learned how to play the courses better and navigated better and knew where to push and where to lay up, and just, overall game plan, I think, was the biggest part of 2022.
Do you feel like, maybe this sounds all too obvious, but do you feel like some of our most veteran players, your Pauls and your Rickies and so forth, that some of these courses, I mean, not much changes for them? We're largely going back to the same venue most years, maybe 80% of them are the same. Do you feel like that has been a significant advantage for them, knowing that this is the sixth time they're playing GMC as opposed to somebody that might be going out there for the first time?
I definitely think so. It depends on the course, because a lot of courses are getting a lot harder. They're trying to make them a lot harder because, the field is getting deeper, people are getting better. So I think to an extent it definitely helps just to know the overall property. But I think they're making enough changes to the courses, making them more difficult, where it's evening out the playing field a little bit.
When it comes to courses, what would you say? And I don't want to just say what's your favorite area, even though we have pretty distinct regions throughout the country, as it is a little more wide open at the beginning of the year, and I feel like it gradually gets tighter throughout the year. But is there either a section of the tour or a style of course that you feel like is where you excel, or maybe you enjoy but don't excel, or whatever the case might be?
I think my favorite has to be up in the Northeast with Smuggler's Notch, MVP. It may just be the time of year we go up there. It's just perfect disc golf weather. But I also love wooded golf, which they have a lot up there.
Yeah, as I said, it feels like things continue to get tighter and tighter. I think with almost every passing month, as we essentially travel from west to east. That's kind of how the courses configure throughout the entire year. Now, was there at any point this year when you either felt like you hit your stride, or maybe on the opposite side, you just ran into a roadblock where like nothing felt like it was going right for you for more than a round or even a whole weekend? Did you experience some of those highs and lows?
Definitely. I think unless you're like Ricky, actually even Ricky may have done it, but it's so hard to go through a whole season without like a really bad low or a really bad high. I don't know, but I think pretty much every touring player had a bad stretch. It's just so hard to go through the whole year clean.
So let's talk about what you're going to be doing during this off season and where you're at, what training looks like, how much golf you're playing. We're here. This is the weekend before the Chain Hawk, which is going to be an A-tier taking place in Florida. Florida's got another A-tier the weekend after. Obviously, there's other A-tiers and events going on around the country. Is your season complete? Let's start there. Are you done? Are you done with competitive golf, and until when, if so?
Yes, last event was, I guess you could count Big Money Skins an event, and then my first one will be back Vegas. So yeah, taking the whole off season off.
Wow. And what are some of the plans? You're so fresh into touring and having these experiences, but yet you're so young. What are some of the plans in terms of what you're going to be doing this off season?
Yeah, so a lot of training. It's funny when I went, I guess, 2020 maybe, around then. I've been playing for 3 years, and that feeling you first get when you play disc golf, you just love it. You can't get enough of it. So after the first few years of that, it kind of died down. I was kind of going through the motions. I still love playing, obviously, but I didn't have like that fire that I had when I first started. And then this past season, with some of my successes, I kind of relit that fire in a way, just having that feeling of being in contention and just like having some big wins. It just kind of relit it for me. So this off season, I'm taking it so seriously. I'm training as hard as ever. I don't really have any other responsibilities other than training. So,
what does training look like for you? Like, what's an average Alden day of training, or a week of training, depending on how you want to look at it?
Yeah. So I talked with Chris Taylor, who's a disc golf coach. He's phenomenal. He really looks into stats and figures out like what players can work on. And I talked to him, and we came to the conclusion that I just don't have a ton of distance, which is true. I already knew that, but he suggested.
Really? The paper shows me, I don't throw 500 whenever I want or whatever. Okay.
But we figured out because of that, I may not had as many birdie looks as the other top 25 in the world. I was significantly lower in inside the circle in regulation. So he suggested just to strengthen my body, which I've never really done. I've never really worked out. So I'm training really hard. And luckily, my sister is a personal trainer and a nutrition coach. So it's kind of works out perfectly. So she's been helping me.
It's a nice family discount, hopefully.
Yeah.
Charging you full price.
Sure.
Yeah, that invoice might be kind of weird.
Hand it over at Thanksgiving and Christmas. There you go.
That's right.
And so what does the facility look like? Is this going to a gym? Is this does she have a spot picked out? What is that going to look like for you?
Yeah, so right now I'm just in the basement with some equipment, but my parents have this land. They bought this land, and they're planning on building a house on it. And there's all that's basically on the land is just this old barn in the woods. So it was in terrible shape. But this off season we've been fixing it up, and we're going to turn it into a training facility for me that should be done in the next few weeks. So I'll be able to spend a lot more time training.
If I don't get a Rocky workout montage in like a beat up barn on your YouTube channel, it will be a hugely missed opportunity. Some great Eye the Tiger music in the background, and Alden putting together a barn. I can see it.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Now, you being familiar with the YouTubes, I was just explaining. I think it was just this last weekend. I feel like one of the better videos ever put out was at one point Paul McBeth was training in a barn-like facility, or a pole barn, and he had put out a 50+ win video. I trust that you saw that. Do you?
Oh yeah.
You familiar with it? To this day, I don't care if you love or hate someone like Paul McBeth. The fact that he made 50 putts in a row from 25 or 28 or 30 feet, whatever it was. Of course, the internet, wanted to challenge him on it. And then doesn't he make a 3-pointer, I think, to finish it off, or dunks? Or whatever he does.
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyone to make 50 putts in a row from almost any distance does take a little bit of skill. So I don't know. Maybe you could top that.
It's not a bad idea. We have to try.
Okay. I like it. So if you're ready for it, give us an update. First of all, tell us what your contract obligations have been, where you've been and what it has entailed. And then tell us if you have news or what the news is moving into 2023.
Yeah. So I've been with Prodigy for basically since I started. So maybe 5 years, I think. I was on the street team for a year or two. Then I went on their tournament team, and then I signed on their upper team in 2020 for 2 years. So I've been with Prodigy forever. It was a very basic contract. I wasn't insanely good when I signed in 2020. But then this year I've decided to sign again with them for another year. I'm very excited about it. There's a lot of Prodigy. Yeah, I have a lot planned. Prodigy has a lot planned, and it's going to be really, really cool partnership going forward.
And does that I'm assuming you're on the top tier level of the Prodigy team still, of course, unless they've got a different status.
This would be awkward if he's getting demoted.
I mean, I'm here to announce I'm back on the street team. Back on the street team.
Yeah.
Were there any thoughts of any other sponsorships, any other manufacturers? I mean, you have an agent now, so clearly he knows the market. Did you have any communication with him? Like, hey, if all else is equal, Prodigy is my go-to. They're my homies, so to speak. People still say that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The kids. That's
kids
part
do.
of it.
So
rolling with the homies.
Coolio. So ultimately, how did that talk go with your agent, and then what were the prospects like out there right now?
Yeah, so Ted has a lot of connections with different companies, so he reached out to a lot of them, but ultimately, like you said, if Prodigy was going to, have an offer equivalent to any other one, I would go with Prodigy just because I know they're plastic, I love the team, and I love the people there.
What is that like? Because I think of Will Schusterick and obviously the rest of the crew that kind of started Prodigy. There's this huge influx probably before you were even disc golfing back in 2013 is when Prodigy, tell me, you were alive in 2013, right? How old were you in
Barely,
2013?
Yeah. 13.
Oh, okay. So very early stages is when we saw Prodigy, and we say it all the time. They obviously really shook up the market at that time, pulling from a number of different manufacturers. They were some of the first ones that we saw with kind of this monthly stipend and some form of ownership or stock within the company. What is the dynamic like in terms of, who do you talk to? Is that Schusterek? Is that other people? Like, what is the team structure kind of like, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Ted was in contact with the CEO.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think he runs the, all the team side stuff and getting players.
We've seen this big influx of, a number of, specifically of you younger players on Prodigy, yourself, Gavin, of course, Isaac, and Gannon. Is there some competitiveness among you guys when it comes to, thinking about contracts, and is this guy getting way more than me, a little bit more than me? Are those conversations that even behind closed doors you guys have among each other, whether you share them publicly or not, but are those conversations you guys have with each other, being good friends?
I mean, maybe a little bit. We're not like too competitive, I guess you could say, about it. Just because, I mean, we're all professionals. We know, like Gannon, for example, is significantly better than me. I know he should be getting paid more than me. Speaking of Gannon, he's calling me right now.
He's doing
He's
that
like,
on
shut
purpose.
up, shut up. Don't spill it. Don't spill it.
Are you thinking this is like an old school Friends scenario where they all negotiated together and you all get the same or you all walk? Is that kind of the...
Yeah, okay. So Friends was this TV show where no. Yeah, and I guess maybe that is along the lines that I'm thinking of, is knowing that you guys are you're pretty close, friend-wise. Your skill levels, obviously on any given weekend, one may excel past the other. You're touring together, making a lot of content together. You're kind of this traveling pack of a sort. And that's where I think of, is there any animosity and or awkwardness that might be had among you guys, that, or if it's just things are relatively open and you guys don't sweat it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, answer is it's awkward. He doesn't want to tell us about it. That's fine.
No, it's not awkward. We're pretty open about stuff, and it's like I said, we don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are playing disc golf for a living, and hopefully
you can't
making
complain.
a career out of it, right? Yeah. Okay, so signed, you're re-upping, so to speak, your contract for one more year as of right now. What goes into that conversation of 1 year? I mean, we're very much in a stage or in a position of most contracts now. I feel like our 2 years are almost the norm, if not more.
Yeah.
How'd you land on 1 year? Yeah,
so there's two things that went into making my decision for the 1 year. One of them was the YouTube channel. It's very new. I started it last year, and I feel like it's going to continue to grow. I'm going to keep uploading videos every event is what I'm planning. So I think that's going to hopefully explode next year and do really well. And then the second thing, which I think is the most important thing, was, like I said, that fire, the love of disc golf kind of relit in me, and I'm putting everything that I have into disc golf, all my time. I'm training so hard. So I plan next year to do really, really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're hedging your bet. Things. You're kind of thinking, if 2023 is in fact the year I think the glow up, I don't know, maybe not. But
don't say that.
Okay. But anyway, 2023 is this big year. You want to have maybe a little bit more leverage and some negotiating power, that if you have this killer year, you're again going to be a free agent, or at least, in a signing stage at the end of 2023. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I like that. Sounds like you're betting on yourself, and that I can't argue with that. How important is, you just mentioned it, and Johnny V fanboys over it all the time, your content. How important is making that content to you? What does it do for you? What box does it check or fill? What does it do for you?
Well, it definitely helps me waste a lot of time.
Okay.
which is, I mean, it's a good thing, because before I started making those, after practice round, we were just sitting in our van for however long. So helps us have a little more fun on the road. Then it also helps me sell a lot more plastic, I think. Kind of, I don't know, it puts my name a little bit more on the map and maybe get some more fans, which would result in I'm able to sell more discs.
Yeah, I think that's basic marketing, and I think you're on top of it, which is more than I mean, are you surprised more players don't take social media, and it doesn't have to just be YouTube, clearly, but are you surprised that more people don't take advantage and see what you see?
Maybe a little bit, but also not too much, just because I now understand how long it takes. It takes me so long to make those videos, and it's a lot of dedication to do it week in and week out. I feel like a lot of players, they start YouTube channels, and then after a couple of videos, they just don't upload again. And I totally understand that now, just because I realize how much of a grind it really is.
Yeah, and I mean, even again, way back in the day, that was synonymous with blogging, with people writing. There used to be, after every tournament, I'm going to write an update. I'm going to share all my thoughts, everything that went well. And usually you got your website up and running. There was a blog post. A week later, there was the first entry. And then 6 months later, hey, guys, it's been a busy season. I haven't been able to stay on top, which we all understand, but that's kind of the nature of it. And at the end of the day, you're there to play good golf, first and foremost, most likely. And that's what you're trying to accomplish, first and foremost. Do you take any influence from any other golfers or any other channels that you've seen out there? We think of Eagle and Simon being two of your bigger channels, but do you take any influence from any other channels from the golf community?
Not really, not a ton. My video style, it's kind of weird, because me and my brother used to play a lot of video games, and I would kind of save some highlights throughout the month and then make a montage of it. And it's kind of similar to that. I just film a lot of stuff during the week, and I just put all the funny moments or the cool moments into one video. So it's similar to that. Okay.
And now I guess the follow-up to that is, from a golfer's perspective, maybe you're not following anyone else. Is there any other YouTuber or content creator that you feel like you've had an influence from, or editing style or anything like that from at all? Either any other influences outside of disc golf?
I don't really think one specifically. I do feel like over the past few years, people's I don't know. I feel like people like shorter and faster videos. So I don't think there's a specific creator, but just kind of the overall demand of videos. People just want fast and just chopped up.
Okay. I like it. Well, what is there a goal in mind for your channel, whether it's a subscriber count or a view count or anything like that?
Number of videos in a year,
or a number of videos in a year. Do you have any specific goal that you're really striving for in 2023?
I'd like to make a video every event. Since I think I made one every event since Portland in this past season, leading up to the end of the season. So I'd like to do that again, I think.
Okay. And then
but I said, it's a grind.
Any off-season? You're going to do any off-season content? I know it's probably a little more difficult because it's pretty repetitive as far as what you're training and whatnot, but is there any video planning for that?
I don't think about my specific off season, no, but I do have a lot of clips that I didn't use for this past season that I've been thinking about making into videos. But yeah, this off season is very busy, so I don't think I'll really be able to make videos other than the stuff I've already have.
Yeah, and I said I don't want to make it too awkward. Ace Run is asking who your favorite YouTube channel is, and I thought, well, this is gonna be awkward when he doesn't.
It's got to be. I mean, Ace Run. I think it's got to be.
Okay. So you're on their payroll as well. Then it sounds like it's good. Good job, Ace Run. We love it. It sounds like you've got a couple big. Your fan club is out there. It looks like Gavin is apparently, if these aren't all trolls, Gavin's in the chat. As is. Did we see that? Gannon is also in there.
I saw Gannon was upset you didn't answer his FaceTime. Isaac's upset that you're not playing Minecraft with him. And I haven't seen Gavin. You might need to hit the show.
Yeah. So Gavin's
Gavin is just insulting you.
Yeah.
So
that was another video idea that we came up with, is doing a Minecraft series. I don't think we'll ever do it, but it would be pretty funny.
I mean, do you play Minecraft with Isaac, honestly? Or
no, not really, but
okay. I didn't know. I mean, I know that's, my 13-year-old son plays Minecraft. I know it's he watches a bunch of YouTubers that do it, and
I play Minecraft, just not with Isaac.
Just not with Isaac.
Well, that was going to be
with other people.
I mean, I think back to, obviously Tina and Eric were streaming and doing a lot of stuff. We've seen a lot of players do a lot of, I think Kevin Jones just, a week ago or 2 weeks ago was talking about streaming on Twitch and playing some games. Is that something that would ever interest you on or off season?
I mean, I think so. I feel like that would also take a good amount of time to do if you're doing like long streams and you have to get the right setup. But I mean, who knows? I think that could be pretty fun to do.
When it comes to content, what is there a goal? Do you care about a subscriber count, like in the big picture? Do you care about getting to 100,000 or having one of the biggest YouTube channels? Is any of that at all on your mind, or are you just making content, because like you said, it checks certain boxes for you?
As far as subscriber count, no, not really. I mean, it's obviously cool to get like a play button, but ultimately I don't really care. I just like making the best videos I can. There's a lot of videos that I have that I spent a lot of time doing that I never release just because I don't feel like they're up to the standard I want them to be.
Wow. That that says a lot. I mean, I have no standards, so if I went through the effort of editing it, it's for sure gonna make it to be that.
And again, I love your videos, but I've seen some of the dumb things that you guys do, and if they don't meet those standards, I can't imagine what didn't make the cut. So I'm looking forward to the bloopers and the outtakes, maybe.
Well, and speaking of those, what would you say is an all-around favorite moment, or maybe a collection of moments on or off the course? What would you, when you look back on 2022, what are some of the moments, the key moments that stand out for you?
Well, I think the obvious ones are the wins I had. Those were really exciting just because the last one I had was Music City, and that was a while ago. I think just having some new friends this year was just made the whole touring experience so much better, because in 2021 I had a couple friends, but no one I'd really hang out with. So most of the time I just go practice and sit in my van alone for the rest of the day and play the tournaments. But then I got really close with Gannon during this past off season, and Isaac came on the road, and then I met Gavin in Vegas. So yeah, so just having a good group of friends for the whole season was really, really fun.
It's amazing how much that can help as far as just your mental fortitude for the year, having a group of friends like that. Because I look at some of these guys that tour primarily by themselves, and I mean, like a Ricky comes to mind, who, I mean, obviously people like Ricky on tour, but he travels by himself. You don't really see him interacting with a lot of players very often off tour. So you have to wonder, how is someone able to separate that with what you guys have? You guys have a pretty regular crew, so it's an interesting difference.
When you're looking into 2023, is there anything that you have planned that would surprise us? An event that's off the beaten path, some B tier that maybe you've just been excited to get to, or whatever the case might be. Is there anything as you're looking at 2023 that is out of the ordinary?
I don't know. It may be expected, but it's new for me. I'm planning on going to Europe for those events, which I'm so excited for, and probably that Canada tournament.
Okay.
But other than that, I feel like not really anything surprising.
And I don't want to say what most excites you, but when you look at the tour and you look at the schedule, is there any kind of consideration for whether it's a drive or it's the distance between two events, and you think, well, maybe if I skip this one, then I'll actually be able to relax? Like, what are some of the things that you feel like the experience that you can take from these last 2 years and you can bring into 2023 and be like, you know what, I love that event, but it's not worth ultimately the 19 hours of driving to get out there and get back for it? Or is there anything like that you wisdom you could pass along?
Yeah, touring for 2 years now, I now understand how important rest is. So I try to come home when I can, even if it's like I have to drive 10 hours to get here. If it's for a week, I'll 100% do it just because I know how worth it is.
Okay. And do you have any breaks that you know are scheduled that is like, oh, okay, well, I don't really particularly care for, I don't want to say that course or that area, but do you have any scheduled breaks like that planned for this year?
I can't think of any. I'd have to look at my schedule, but I feel like the way the tour is set up this year, there's not too many that are close enough to like drive back home and drive back. And most of the events are back to back.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. I know that's hard to think about scheduled breaks, and then you think, man, you get into that, seventh weekend in a row, and then all of a sudden you're like, maybe I could use a week off. And
I could skip the silver event.
Yeah, sometimes it just happens on the spot. You just want to go home.
And that kind of leads to my question of where do you fit in, and where do you feel like with your career and the anxiousness to play and the excitement level, where do you feel like some of these other events fit, and silver events being maybe the number one example? Are those on your radar? Do you kind of look ahead to those and think, okay, I could probably take a few of those off? Well, how do you look at some of those weekends?
Right now where I'm at, I can't really realistically just fly it to an event and come back. So a lot of the silver series are scheduled in between elite series. So what else are you going to do?
Sure.
So some of them are just kind of like that, you don't have really anything else to do, so decide to play.
I want to briefly touch back on the contract, the 1-year contract that you have. Was there anything in the contract that you were surprised about? Is there a minimum number of events that you have to do this year? Are there like a minimum? Is your social media at all tied into the contract? I mean, I don't need super specifics, but I'm just curious as to whether you kind of maybe Prodigy as a whole, do they kind of have a boilerplate contract that they then just adjust a few numbers for each player? Or do you feel like everybody kind of has a unique specific contract for them?
I think for the most part, Prodigy does it where everyone has a pretty similar one. I think we all have social media bonuses. But as far as like how many tournaments played, it's pretty much the same as years past. Nothing too new.
Are you forced to hang out with Gavin? Is that in the contract?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yep. Wow.
I assumed as much, but I sometimes the things aren't said out loud.
I mean, and him, I think more and more now. He you classified him as on the upper echelon in terms of the play, but he's also by far the youngest. And there's certain legalities. I mean, he can't rent a car. He can't get a hotel. There's a lot of things he still can't do. Do you at all sometimes feel like you're a legal guardian / babysitter to him?
Oh, absolutely. More so babysitter than legal guardian.
What's the dumbest thing he did this year?
Oh, man. There's a lot. Let's see. I'm sure there's one that'll come to mind. I don't know. I can't think of anything really
embarrassing or.
Well, here's the question: was there anything you caught on camera that you just said, "I can't put that out"? Like, there's no way. Like, that would not be appropriate, or that's too embarrassing. Like, this person might get made fun of forever for that.
There's been stuff that I thought was really funny that he was like, "That's too embarrassing. You can't put that up," which is surprising because I feel like I think he's okay with a lot of embarrassing stuff put up, but.
And not just him. Specifically, I was thinking just in general of what you've captured.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, Isaac's on the board saying Alden is our dad. So,
yeah. Who are you the most responsible amongst the four of you? Are you like the most kind of or Isaac maybe?
I don't know. I feel like Gavin may be it.
Really?
He's kind of the voice of reason in the group. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. That makes sense. I love how these guys are all having their own chat session within the comments, which is exactly what we love to see. So with regard to the contract, one of the things that I feel like, again, set Prodigy apart many years ago was essentially like a monthly stipend or something of that nature, where it was like a guaranteed pay. How does even today's structure, again, we don't need specifics, share what you will, but how does today's structure, how do you feel like that matches up against other teams and other sponsorships? Do you feel like there's some similarities, or is there some uniqueness to what they're offering and how your contract is structured?
I feel like, at least in my experience, obviously I don't have a ton of experience, but the majority of like companies have very, very similar contracts as far as like monthly pay, bonus structure, just stuff like that.
Okay. Is there anything, as Johnny just mentioned about within the contract, is there anything that talks about expanding, whether it's a tour series type disc, signature type disc? Is there anything like that the world should be expecting?
Don't know if I'm allowed to say, honestly, but
yeah, you are. We're all friends here.
Definitely.
It's just you, us, and your friends.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it.
But I will say you can definitely expect some really cool things coming from Prodigy.
Okay. I like it. Again, every manufacturer is a little bit different. Is there ultimately a cap on what you could earn?
So if you win every event, bonuses just keep adding up.
Yeah, I don't think there's really a cap.
And I guess maybe when I think about that, bonuses obviously can come to mind, but I think about
disc sales.
Sometimes you hear, we've heard of disgruntled or frustrated players from various manufacturers, not any one in particular, but from manufacturers that have said, hey, I could sell 10,000 discs in a year. They would sell, but the manufacturer isn't keeping up with the demand. And that's where I guess that kind of feels like you're being capped to some degree of, hey, they only made 3,000 of these, they sold out instantly, and then they never, did another run of them, where if they would have made another 3 or 5 or 10,000, they would have likely sold out right away. I guess that's when I think about being kind of somewhat restricted or capped. That can sometimes comes to mind, but okay.
Yeah. From my experience, Prodigy is very, very good of whatever disc we want. Like if we say we want this stamp on this disc to sell, they're very quick with getting that out to us.
Very cool. And if people wanted, and I know we normally do this kind of as we're wrapping up, but if people wanted to directly support you or indirectly support you, what are some of the ways that they could go about it? Do you have a website? Do you have a section within the Prodigy website? What are some of the ways people could go about supporting you?
We are currently working on a website now, so there's not really like a big hub for where you can find all things Alden, but at this current moment, you can subscribe to my YouTube, Alden Harris, or follow me on Instagram, alden.c.harris. Those are the two main ways you can support me right now.
And if somebody was trying to get discs, is there anywhere in particular that you send them? Or is it directly to you?
You can go to the Prodigy website. There's some Alden discs there, or you can contact me on my Instagram. I also have some at hand that I could send you.
Awesome. Did I see in a video not long ago? I don't pay a lot of attention. I'll be the first to admit to a lot of videos, but I could have swore I saw you saying you were like ready to give away 50 of your discs. Did I see that somewhere?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
It was the last video I posted.
You definitely need a business manager, because if you're just giving away dozens and dozens of discs, there's got to be an ROI somewhere. Yeah. But what was that all about?
So I wasn't for USDGC, because it's so close to me. It's so close to Isaac, as far as like location. A lot of our family was there, and some of Gavin's family was there, Gaines' family was there. So we weren't really able to hang out as much as we usually would. So I didn't really have a video plan. And then, of course, Gannon had to go win it, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Selfish.
I don't know why. Yeah, seriously. But he won it, and then I got a billion messages saying, oh, I can't wait for this week's vlog. And I was like, that's too bad. So
yes, you can wait, and you will.
But there were so many people asking for it. I was like, man, this is the one I just can't miss. So we did a quick Gannon interview while he was in a bathtub. I don't know if you saw that. It was
Yeah, I
pretty
did
funny.
see that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, but as a sorry to my viewers that it wasn't like a normal vlog, I just gave away 50 discs.
Okay.
That's great.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah, it's definitely a model that's out there, and hopefully that again paid off for you. Do you have a Patreon or anything like that people can support you through?
No Patreon.
Okay.
Someone earlier on the board asked, just haircut anytime? Are you gonna let it? How long you gonna let it grow? Like, what's the plan for your
I'm
mane?
Definitely. I don't think I'll go to short, just short hair anytime soon. It'll always be pretty long, but I'm definitely going to get it trimmed before next season starts.
How long's that been your style? Like, is that what you see for the foreseeable future, and what drives you to that? I've
only trimmed it a couple times since I graduated high school. So I've not had it my whole life. I've had it for probably, what even is it? 3 years maybe, but don't plan on cutting it anytime soon.
Any hair care tips that, because to be honest, we're seeing a ton of our players
while playing.
Yeah, we're seeing a ton of our players and some of our media crew growing out hair has definitely caught on. I feel like is maybe even more, I don't want to say trendy, but is definitely trending more than ever recently.
It was like COVID on, where a lot of people just kind of just
rolling with it. I mean, they can't all be Aldens and James Conrad, but any tips or any insight or tips for anyone out there?
As far as washing it and all that stuff?
Yeah,
really,
and
but
the challenge of living on the road and having a substantial amount of hair.
I feel like having shorter hair would be harder living on the road, because when I have long hair, I can just put it all up in a bun when I wake up and not have to deal with it for the whole day. But with short hair, I feel like you'd have to style it in some way. But I feel like I get a message every week of someone asking me how I tie up my hair when I play, because for them it always flies out when they throw. And I always have to break the news to them that that I have not found a good way to put it up in a bun, because what you don't see in coverage is me putting it back up in a bun every few holes.
Have you thought about the Paige shoe? I mean, she kind of made that famous of just having the long hair and then just throwing it. It's just always ripping around, creating. Yeah. I
honestly have no idea how she does that. Having long hair now, I can't even fathom it. I had a hat on still. So my hair wasn't all up in my face, but it was still down behind me, and I still couldn't play like that. I don't know how she does it.
I'm just saying there's a world champion tip in there somewhere, and she's acquired one of those accolades. So I don't know. Maybe reach out.
Maybe, yeah.
Apparently, and we're gonna take this question off the board. Ask about burrs stuck in your hair at GMC. Did you get into
oh my goodness! This was the worst experience ever.
Because we've all had burrs on our clothing, our pants legs. Your shoelaces are the worst because they feel like they're in there for 6 weeks. But did you get some in your hair? Was that?
I'm guessing one of the boys commented that, because no one even really knows about that. Because I wanted to document for a video, but it was so miserable. It was so bad. So yeah, I was at GMC. It was during one of the practice days. Before the sun was setting, I went to go play a few holes to test out some new discs on Fox Run. And I shanked one into the woods, had to go get it, and my head got stuck on this branch. And I had to rip off the branch and then just take everything out of it. And then I got out and realized there was 3 or 4 really big burrs just stuck in my head. And I was, oh my goodness, I don't want to relive this, but I'll keep talking about it.
I mean, these are the problems people don't think about. Go on.
So I didn't want to go to anybody because I was so embarrassed about it. So I went to try to do it alone, but I just kept making it worse and worse. And I finally found Gavin. It was almost dark at this point. And I was like, we're at Smuggler's Notch, so there's nothing really around you. We didn't have showers or anything. So I went to Gavin, and he was obviously making fun of me at first, but then he remembered his long hair and how much he loved it, how much I loved mine. So it was a big deal. And then luckily his mom is like a really, really good hairstylist and knows everything about hair. So he called her. She said, you need some type of oil or coconut oil or something to get it out, and it should come out no problem. So again, because it's Smuggler's Notch, we had to drive a good ways when it's dark already to go get some coconut oil. So I went into the store to get coconut oil with a bunch of burrs in my hair. And then finally got back to Smuggler's Notch, and we were staying on, like, all the people in vans got to stay on the Fox Run side next to that little pond.
Yep.
So I had to go get in the pond at, I don't even know, it was like 7 or 8 at night. And Gavin sat there. He was so nice. He was sitting on the dock. I was just sitting in the water, so sad, as he was putting coconut oil in my hair and pulling out burrs.
Wow,
that's a true friend. Honestly,
yeah, that is some content as well.
I know, but it probably took him a good 30-40 minutes to get him out. It was that bad.
Wow, jeez.
Yeah, that sounds.
I forgot about that story. That was, man.
It sounds so endearing and kind and sweet. Oh.
Actually, it was funny because right before it actually happened, I saw Chris and Brittany filming some video with Discraft. Mm-hmm. So before I found Gavin, after trying to get it out myself, I called Chris because I was like, Brittany probably could help me. Mm-hmm. And he didn't answer. And then I texted him. I was like, does Brittany know how to get burrs out of a hair? And all he said was lol. So,
ouch.
So he didn't even, I guess he thought I was kidding or something. So I was like, wow, okay, Chris. Ouch. So then I went to Gavin.
Not to compare you, but they have a dog, and I'm sure the dog gets burrs. They live where they're at, so you would think she would have some experience, maybe cleaning some of that out. I can understand why. And
that's what I thought. Yeah,
she's a sweetheart, so I could see her, taking the spot of Gavin and just sitting there picking him out of your hair. But
I took it a different way. I took it as Chris is like, F off, bro. I'm with Discraft now. You and Prodigy.
No.
But I think he thought I was kidding, so the message never even got to Brittany. Because I told Brittany afterward, a few days later, and she was like, oh, I could have totally helped you.
So this is all Dickerson. Yep. C-Dick. It's all his fault.
Always.
That makes sense. I can understand. Well, that is an awesome story. I want to give one more question for you then, and it kind of goes along those lines of things you've learned and experience, and just really how you could help out the next people that decide to take to the tour. You've been in a van. It's all decked out. It looks really nice. I think it's one of the better wraps out there on tour. It looks great. My question to you then is, van life clearly becoming a staple out there for our touring players. What would be your pro tip when it comes to van life, whether a design component, an actual brand of van, a thing to think about to either install or to skip? Give us a good pro tip for the van life and being out there.
It's probably kind of a boring answer, but I feel like just getting in contact with someone else who is living in a van, because there's infinite things you need to know.
Okay.
It's hard to really narrow it down to one.
Did you watch YouTube videos? Did you talk to other touring golfers? What were some of the things that you felt like, wow, I'm really glad I got that insight? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I think I talked to a lot of touring pros. There actually was, I think I was at a B tier. It was I don't know, a couple months after I got my van, and I met this guy at the B tier. He wasn't a touring pro or anything, but he lived in a van. So I was able to get in contact with him and ask a lot of questions. But then once I was on the road, because it's a little different living in a van in one area compared to living in a van traveling across the U.S. Mm-hmm. So for advice and stuff about traveling the whole U.S., I went to some touring pros.
What's the one thing if money wasn't a factor, or maybe even time, what's the one thing you'd change about your van if you could just snap your fingers? What's the one thing you would change about your van?
Man. Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know.
Electricity's
I love my
good,
van so
power's
much.
good, bathroom or non,
Shower.
I mean,
like
I guess a bathroom would be nice, but pretty much every touring player who lives in a van has a Planet Fitness membership. So
okay,
usually every night we kind of have a get together at Planet Fitness unintentionally. We're just all there at the same time.
that makes sense. Yep. Okay. So nothing major. I mean, which maybe is a testament to, you know, you doing things right. That if you can't think of anything that's right off the top of your head, like, you know, and I always go to the standby of Paige Pierce always used to talk about, she's like, I don't know if she put in one or no ceiling fan or vent at first, and then I think she added a second one. So maybe she went from 1 to 2, and I just remember her saying that was a game changer for her specifically. So that's why I always think if there's one thing, but if there's nothing that jumps out at you, you must have got some really good sound advice. All right. I think that's about it. Unless there's something that's an open floor, open call. Is there anything that you want to touch on that we didn't lob up to you and talk about here tonight?
I don't know. Talk about Gannon. If there's anything funny about him, we can talk about. But other than that,
I mean, if you're
He's
ready,
still
with
underage. I don't know if we can say those things.
Yeah, or if you've got an embarrassing story that's surfaced that you're ready for, I mean, or maybe you have to save that for an after show. I don't know, but anytime you want to share it, we'll be here to listen to it. We see Gannon and
cool.
Gavin.
Maybe we get them on the same time.
Oh my gosh, they're AC.
Oh, his FaceTiming. Do you mean to get him?
Sure, go ahead. Yep.
Let me see. Oh, wait. Can you hear me still?
Yep.
Gannon, say something in my AirPod.
Hello?
Welcome to the show, Gannon.
Hey, don't you have homework to be doing, kid?
Oh, I forgot you can't hear anything.
It's probably better that way. He should be doing his homework.
They say you need to be doing your homework, so.
I'm grinding right now. I got my weights.
Oh, sure.
He's lifting weights right now.
Your math book doesn't count.
He said your math book doesn't count.
What?
Your math book doesn't count as a weight.
Yeah, I don't do math, man.
All right.
All he needs are 2s and
Think you need to
3s.
go to bed.
That's probably all he
It would be
needs.
hilarious to see Gannon come back next year jacked, looking like Gavin. Like Gannon coming out looking like Gavin.
Oh, man.
And just
I will say he's gained like 15 pounds of muscle. I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
So he may come back as an Ezra Aderhold.
Oh man. Oh no. I don't know where all these videos are what's gonna happen then. Things are gonna get wild. More wild.
Well,
Anyway, all right. Well, Alden, I want to be the first or one of the earlies to say congratulations on your successes this year. Everything that you've done to continue to further your career. Being out on the road yet for another year. Obviously, you're looking forward to and placing bets on yourself for the 2023 season. That's awesome. It's great that you have representation and that you have somebody taking care of the business side, so you can focus on not only the golf but also what you want to do to fill your heart and soul with your creative side. We love seeing it, and it's always a pleasure to see you out there on the tour, and looking forward to a big, successful 2023 and beyond. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Can I thank a couple sponsors?
Please do, as always.
Go for it.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, Prodigy, another year. So excited. So thank you to them. Thank you to Eagles Wings Disc Golf. Thank you to Double G Jerky. And thank you to T-Box Socks. Then a few more that are coming soon.
All right. Well, it sounds like you're getting a ton of support, as you should be. Again, it's great seeing you out there on the tour. I love catching up with you whenever I see you, and I know you guys, the good, wholesome group that you are going to continue to have a good time out there traveling around the country and enjoying your best life. We love seeing it. So thanks for joining us. Yes. Congrats on the contract extension, and we'll if we don't see you before, we'll for sure see you at Vegas.
Sweet. All right. Thank y'all. Thanks for having me.
Good night. See ya. And there you have it. Alden Harris, contract extension, giving us a Smashbox exclusive here tonight.
Correct. He hasn't been announced anywhere until here that he has re-signed with Prodigy.
Yeah, and I really love the philosophy of the 1 year. And again, I know that's a little bit almost uncommon in this day and age, but if he thinks that he's going to have a big year, big banner year, or just a contingent wants to keep any options open, however you want to look at it, I like that he's essentially betting on himself with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you can look at it. With 1 year, you're betting on yourself, because if, for instance, as I jokingly said, if he starts winning all the events, that's going to drive up his price. Alternatively, if, he's finishing in 20th a lot, that could have an effect on his next year price. But I don't foresee the latter, the way he's been playing and the skill set that he has, especially if he's going to be working on his distance, because he's right in that distance, while he's better than most of us listening and watching, there are, other than a few of you out there that I know travel with him, he does not have that elite distance like that Gannon has currently, or as we mentioned, an Ezra Aderhold. So it's definitely something he can work on. And if he can give himself more chances at birdies, you can't ask for anything more on the tour.
No, especially when he's obviously as good of a putter as he is. Just taking a quick look, seeing that he played in 20. Has him listed as playing in 27 events this year. Has the earnings of $25,318, so averaging just shy of $1,000 per event that he played in. And then obviously he's got sponsorship bonuses and other things that are coming down the pipe. And I look at the $25K that he won this year, essentially doubled his career earnings. And obviously he's only been on the tour since 2021, but doubled. He made $12,000 in 2021. So he's essentially, he went from $6,000 in 2020 to doubling that to $12,000 in 2021 to then almost exactly doubling that in 2022. So
looking for a good keep that streak alive.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. And congrats to both him and Prodigy, along with Ted and the rest of the crew, as he said, working with Ted and Double G Jerky, T-Box Socks. Awesome to see. So.
And I know we were talking about his van build-out. If anyone's interested in van build-outs right now, Ella Hansen is doing a series on YouTube of her off-season van build-out, so you can kind of watch that progress while she builds out what will hopefully be her touring vehicle for the 2023 season.
Yeah. Best of luck to her. She also has some media background that I don't think a lot of people even realize, that besides being an Ultimate player, she was actually on staff and crew filming at the USDGC a few years ago, and works in that capacity as well. So clearly multi-talented, and looking forward to what she's going to be doing here in 2023. Also, I know we talked about it a few weeks ago. I think it's going to be interesting to see if we have any news or announcements or any changes that are going to be taking place for our 2023 season. It feels like most of the, our tour dates are set. There's still obviously the murmurs of any kind of policy changes or adjustments that may or may not be happening. We still know of nothing that's been formally announced. In fact, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get a check-in of some sort with whether it's the PDGA or the PDGA Medical Committee. I feel
like we should wait on that, honestly.
Well, I'm just saying
until the announcement is made.
Oh, of course, and that's what I'm saying. I can't even speculate on anything. I just would love to know if or where there's something that is leaning in any given direction, and or the conversations that are being had, or if this is something that is going to continue, for lack of a better term, to be tabled and discussed, or if we're going to see something that has a policy conversation that may be implemented as early as the beginning of the year. That's where I'm at with it. Is just
I feel like if we don't hear something by mid-January or early to mid-January, then at that point I feel like we could reach out to the PDGA. I would like to give them until then before we get them on and get any sort of information, because honestly they're not going to tell us anything about whether they're leaning one way or the other or what the deal is until the announcement is made, if an announcement is going to be made this year. I don't know. I hope an announcement of some sort is made, just to kind of finally, put whatever fires out for some people to rest. So we'll see.
All right. Now, in just a few moments, I've reached out to our next guest who's going to be joining us. and we'll see if he can jump on and have a conversation. This last weekend, I want to quickly recap. I know, Johnny, you said it earlier in the show. All the people care about is the Cold Turkey 17. And I'm going to go ahead and quickly touch on that. It was a great weekend, unseasonably warm yet again here in Wisconsin. We had really nice weather on Saturday with a little bit of wind, but temps were on the higher side in the 50s. Sunday we had a little bit of rain, but ultimately pretty good weather conditions overall when you collectively look at the weekend. So I'm going to start and just name off a few of the winners. Barrett White, a multiple-time world champion. She is, again, your champion in FPO. Steve Held, a buddy of ours. I guess we still call him that. A buddy of ours took down the Masters division. Jacob Kane, in a playoff, I believe, took down Advanced on Saturday, Advanced Men. Anya took down Advanced Women. Jeff Romig took down Advanced Masters. John Molinda, Advanced Grandmasters. And MA60 was taken down by Bruce Glass. Those are all your Saturday competitors. We had a flex start that took place. We had almost 50 people at the flex start to go along with the 71 people on Saturday, and then we had 63 more people all come out on Sunday. So what is that? 70 and 60 is 130 plus 50. Almost 180 total people to come play this weekend. I will break a little bit of news to follow that all up. Just because who wants a free weekend or a free day? Working on right now a flex start to bring back chaining in the new year. So New Year's Eve, working with the club in Northern Illinois, which isn't far from where this weekend's event took place, but looking at an event on New Year's Eve. It happens to work out on a Saturday this year, and so going to have a flex start event taking place. Details will be all released by next week once we have them officially formalized, but New Year's Eve day, so the 31st, New Year's Eve day, the 31st, look for a flex start event that's going to be put on by myself and a few others. So
all the biggest names will be there. I think we're getting Paul,
probably Alden.
Rick.
Alden, it said he would come play.
I'm just naming off generic first names, and I'm not saying last names. Alden is a little too specific for me. But you know who might be there? Chris.
Yeah, Christopher Meyer, our cold turkey champion from this weekend. We want to welcome him to the show. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, good, guys. How are you?
Good to have you. And
yeah,
I don't believe it just dawned on me while I was doing the edit. First of all, congratulations on this weekend. It dawned on me while I was doing the edit and about to do the commentary. This is 3 in a row for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're winning this tournament that I'm putting on every year. You're winning this more than any other tournament. What's the secret? What's the sauce here? What's going on?
Oh, geez. I don't know. But, T-Dog, thanks for having me on. Johnny V, good to talk to you.
Yeah, I know.
We talked to you last time.
We can ignore Terry. That's fine.
But, yeah, good to meet you and talk to you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, too.
I don't know. I there was more pressure going into this year, having won it 2 times in a row. So I was fortunate enough to get a few more practice rounds in than in the past. But I don't know. I said it on the post tournament interview with you, and just something about the course and it suited my eye and being able to hit the lines. And there's a few holes I wanted to figure out on these last few practice rounds that I finally seem to have, even though I had a couple blow up holes, but was able to offset those with enough birdies. So I don't know. It's a good camaraderie, a lot of great guys out there that makes it real easy to play. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I look at some of your stats. You're rated 992, and you ultimately shot a 1021 rated first round, and
tied with David Heasley.
Yeah, it was very competitive. There were 5 of you tied at that first round score. Did you feel like, hey, I shot 8 under, that feels pretty good? Or did you feel like that was kind of par for the course for the day? Because 5 8 unders is truly the hottest that course has seen in a single round. So did it feel that good, or what did that feel like for the first round?
Yeah, that was crazy to see that many people at eight under. I think I could have been maybe a couple strokes better. Again, the blow up hole I had, and I'm trying to be realistic here with that. Maybe a couple strokes better, but yeah, good conditions, I guess, and David knowing the course so well, and some of the other guys, it was good to see everybody shoot that well.
Yeah, I think about anytime you get sub 50 on that course, this layout, we call it a 56, a couple of somewhat easier par fours, but they're still legitimate par fours, I feel like. And anytime you get sub 50, you're doing usually pretty good work. So to see 5 guys all shoot 48, again, was pretty astonishing in itself.
Great conditions.
Yeah, I mean, what do you make of, conditions, camaraderie, anything that jumped out at you during that first round?
There was a couple guys that I'm really familiar with, and Isaiah and Luke. Love playing with Luke. Awesome. Watch all his videos. He's a great promoter, and Isaiah I know from leagues, and that was definitely huge. And a good kid, and Ben. He seemed to be a real up and comer. He had some good skills. Yeah, all my practice rounds, I was shooting maybe 2 under at best, and we haven't had such good weather lately. But and maybe just the different pace, just slowing down, really stayed in myself, and did a good job focusing on every shot and going through the routine and all that.
So knowing that obviously, this is your regional player, as we're looking at your stats from this year, a lot of, Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin, you were, played in the Skyline that I hosted a few months ago as well, but you're pretty much a regional player. What is that? What is your outlook for disc golf? What is your work life, disc golf life balance, family life? I know you have a young one. What does that look like for you? And is there any change in the horizon for how you approach golf?
For the most part, it'll probably stay regional.
Okay.
Had a little bit of aspirations a few years back. It reminded me when you guys were talking about Alden's van, and got an RV a few years back, started to make some longer trips, did Jonesboro 2 or 3 times, Ledgestone, had signed up for Preserve, but had to back out for whatever reason. So for the most part, I'll probably stay pretty regional. We're so blessed in the Midwest to have so many high-rated courses, whether it's Delwood and all the stuff in Missouri and Wisconsin and all that. And they'll probably, stay regional for the most part. But I hope as the kid gets a little older that we can make some longer trips.
Family trips, they're always fun.
Yeah, and now you played in 7 events this year. You cashed in all 7. However, it's not a stretch to say that's not necessarily paying your mortgage. So the question is, what's your daytime job or obligations that you have, and how do you balance that with the golf that you play?
So I work in video gaming, and not video gaming like you might think off the rip. More like slot machines.
Okay.
They're legal in bars and restaurants and truck stops in Illinois. So
every single one, like literally every. If there's an outlet, there's a frickin' video poker machine plugged into it.
Yeah.
Every inch in Illinois, it's that and vaping. I'm making no judgments, but you can't help but trip onto either a vape store and or a combined poker machine. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, go on. So business has to be good because they're everywhere.
Yeah, it's very lucrative. It takes up a lot of time. It can be stressful at times, but my position with the company has grown over the years, so that it just continues to add on onto my responsibilities and whatnot. So.
And are you? I have so many other questions when it comes to those machines, but are you in a repair or a setup or a
Programming?
Programming. Yeah, where are you within the realm of those machines?
Yeah, so I started out as a technician, working on them, installing them, doing service calls. As my company grew, we're based out of Effingham, Illinois, where I grew up. And that's where headquarters is. And as we grew throughout the northern part of the state, as we expanded into different territories, my role increased into more of a management role and kind of more of the managing and training. And so it's mainly in the office anymore. Might have lost a step on the technical side, but can get through it for the most part. But yeah, mainly trying to build our teams and get all the right people in the right places and more in that sense anymore, but it's great.
Okay. And so is that essentially a 9 to 5? And then, where does golf fit into your life and your overall balance?
Oh yeah, it's full time, occasional calls, nights and weekends. That's part of it. Everybody in this industry is used to that. So it's 24/7, but it still allows me to get some time, take weekend trips, meet friends back down south, whether it's weekends in Peoria or what have you. We try to make there's usually time on the weekends, unless we're traveling to family get-togethers and whatnot, but to try to fit some golf in. I guess to expand on that a little bit, I'm fortunate enough to have a garage big enough that year-round I can putt and throw into the net and stay sharp in that regard. I got probably 45, 50 feet worth of putting I can do.
Wow.
Heated garage. It's nice. So a lot of putting, which thankfully came through this weekend because I think I was 100% and in circle one. So that came through. That was nice.
So you sacrifice the cars out in the snow so you can putt all winter long.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
You're dead on.
That
exactly
makes perfect
right.
sense. What is it like in knowing that some of your best performances, you had one win this year and it was just a few days ago. Is it weird to have some of your footage then, and it's not like my channel's got millions of subscribers or anything crazy, but is it weird to have it kind of forever cemented and archived, so to speak, to know that if you ever wanted to show somebody, a family member or a friend, hey, this is what I do, like you can point to a place and they could watch every shot you threw?
It just happens to be the one you won.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what I do.
Year after year.
Win.
All I do is win every year.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Yeah, it increases a lot of exposure to my friends, family, coworkers, to the sport. I was talking to some guys today that were just blown away who they didn't realize they had working for them even. And, at whatever scale it is. I know it, local C tier, but it's awesome. I on the coverage, I was, being that this was the third time on, I was thinking, man, if you would film my first round every year, it might be a little bit of a better show. But thankfully, out of the last 3 years, this second round was the best out of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just think of, as you're just saying, they're like, oh, but you played in like 7 events this year. Where are the other 6? You're like, oh, they're not out there. It doesn't matter. Those are the ones you didn't win either. You've got this one now.
He just wins in front of cameras.
Exactly.
That's his deal.
The cameras show up, and that's when you do. What do you have? I know you just talked a little bit about traveling, and of course your workload and everything. But do you have any destination trips, whether it's with the family or with buddies or whatever? Is there any destination trips and or events that are on your radar for 2023 that you want to get to?
Eagles Crossing for sure.
Okay.
And then maybe something like the Preserve. It sucked having to back out of that, whatever that was. But yeah, Preserve and maybe Idlewild.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, so something that you could still, maybe drive to, go down on a Wednesday or Thursday, play in the weekend, and still maybe even get back late on a Sunday night back to Illinois.
Yeah.
But not necessarily like a Beaver State Fling or a Masters Cup or a throw down the mountain. You're not necessarily too concerned about trying to knock out any of those bucket list items, if they're even on your bucket list.
It would be awesome. Definitely. Yeah. When the time comes. I don't know how soon, but yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
When we talked to you a couple years ago, of course you had picked up the win the first time you came to play in it, and it felt like your maybe this was also right when you had your child, but it felt like maybe you were a little more up in the air on disc golf pursuits or not. I don't know, professionally. I was thinking about sponsorship, whether you're looking for a sponsor and how serious you're going to take it. Is it fair to say things have changed a little bit or not so much in terms of like your overall outlook of a professional career in disc golf as opposed to any other industry? Has any of that shifted in the last few years or not really?
Probably the same for the most part, but I'm starting to think about how I can be more of that regional pro and be some sort of net positive for some company in an ambassador representative level, because I think there are some of those guys out there. So I think I've been hovering around, 990-ish for 3 years now. I know I'm at least 1,000 at 10-10 player if I put more time into it. I absolutely know that. And I think there's some opportunities around Northern Illinois to be an ambassador, be a representative for a company.
It's funny because I feel like
and
you're maybe kind of right in that, manufacturer dead zone for sponsorship.
Or gray zone or dead zone.
Sure. Yeah. I'll say dead zone.
Okay.
Because we see a lot of people like you're better than the average street team player or so you kind of have, that tends to be the intro player. You're not at the top tier level. We don't see a lot of, we need to find more of a regional. Is there a sponsor you're looking for? Who do you have a mixed bag? What are you primarily throwing these days? Like, are you looking for that, maybe the 50 free discs a year kind of sponsorship?
Still just Mania.
Okay.
For the most part, and yeah, I would take whatever and to do what I'm already doing and throw in all their plastic, and I could further push that on, because as popular as they are everywhere, they don't. It's still pretty mixed in Northern Illinois across a lot of different manufacturers. So I could definitely fill a hole there and help push some plastic and push that brand on some people. I'd love to do that. And
so we know this guy named Dana.
Asking for much.
Yeah, we know this guy named Dana. Have you had conversations with Dana? Do we need to rough him up or threaten him in any way to get things moving here?
Not yet. I haven't talked to him, but
okay.
Any word you can put in,
okay,
I would love to get in touch with him and talk more. Absolutely.
Let's talk Double G jerky for a minute. What's your favorite flavor, and how many bags do we need to get you into?
Hot boom sauce for sure.
Yes.
And whatever you got left from this weekend.
Yes. You'll never find any spare hot boom sauce around me because I probably have eaten it. But yes, that is the right answer. So I can get on board with that one.
I've yet to be able to sample any of the Double G jerky.
Well, you wouldn't like Hot Boom. It's too hot for you.
It might be.
Yeah.
I'm starting to gain a little bit more for spicy.
You'd
but
cry.
I might.
You would cry.
When I get through Delwood, I'm usually picking up a bag.
I love it. Now, what would, you just talked about being a net positive. I think that's a great way to put it. What are some of the things that, whether it's yourself or someone like you, what are some of the things that you think are crucial to bring to an area, to a region, to a club-like setting, to a tournament setting? What are some of the things that you feel maybe either the skills or the assets or talents that you possess? Obviously you're a good golfer, but what are some of the maybe the intangibles that you feel like you can also bring and offer? And what people should be focused on when it comes to those things? What are some of those things you think of?
I think maybe how I carry myself on the course in tournaments. I consider myself a student of the game. So when I hear people, I try to tune into all that stuff when people go in depth. Some of the stuff like Brian Earhart and his, blanking on his name, but I know you guys know him. Some of the stuff that they put out and talk in depth about, I love listening to that stuff. I like to impart as much as I can on the guys I play with. But I'll be honest, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the best on the social media side of things. Just I miss that
Sure.
generation by just a tick, but but I think there's other ways to be that net positive and kind of, whether it be clinics or working one-on-one with some people, I would love to get into that some
Yeah,
of that
and that's exactly what I guess I was referring to. I think you can have zero social media presence, but you might be the go-to mental coach. You might be the go-to, swing coach or course management person, or maybe you really enjoy stepping up and at the end of the day, you're great at running a league, or multiple leagues or whatever the case might be. I mean, there's so many different facets in which people can now shine to be a net positive on disc golf that I think it's just a matter of leaning into whatever it is that you feel most comfortable with. And if social media is not one of those, I don't think that's nearly as big of it. It happens to be maybe one of the most prominent and easy and easiest to see and recognize for some. But if it's not your thing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. It's just a matter of leaning into what you are most comfortable and excel at. So, talk a little bit about your home course and area. I think you're about 45 minutes from where the tournament took place. Again, we had all 4 players that were on the lead card from this weekend actually come from Illinois or Northern Illinois. In fact, the 5th person that was tied with you guys also from Illinois. That also partially shows how close this event is on the Illinois-Wisconsin border. But what's your local club and scene like? And are you actively involved with that, or are you involved in other ways?
Just in the sense that I go to leagues as much
Sure.
as I can, and that's Discontinuum at Fairfield and in Round Lake.
Okay.
So that's where I met Isaiah, who I played with first round. That's where I met Louis, who I played with second round. Just met him recently. Very cool guy. Loved. I blanked on his name for a second, and then we were walking up to the first tee. I'm like, Louis. Okay, this is awesome. Great. I just played with you. Very cool, dude. But yeah, about 25 minutes from Gray Fox. About 10 minutes from Round Lake. So go there for the most part. But yeah, over the past few weeks, was fortunate enough to get up to Gray Fox quite a bit and get some rounds in.
Okay, so not too far, because you're in Johnsburg? Is that that's one of the suburbs I feel like I'm surprisingly not. I don't know very well down there in Illinois. So
in between McHenry, Fox Lake.
Okay.
And yeah, it's funny. Last time I talked to you, I was in the house we were selling in Springfield. We had to run down there for my wife's work, or something. So it was such a spur of the moment thing. Set up in the kitchen. There was nothing in the house. We're carrying 2 mortgages at the time because we're in the middle of transitioning up north. So we're sitting there. The house we got the thermostat turned way down. We're freezing, but worked out pretty well.
Yeah, you get in where you fit in and keep grinding away at it. Love it. Well, I mean, these cold turkey checks just keep coming in. That's right. The 325 once every November. Okay, like I said, may not carry you too far, but nonetheless. Is there anything else you want to share with the world here tonight before we let you go? Any whether it's words of wisdom or other thoughts or shout outs or anything else that you want to share with the world?
I just anticipated talking a little bit about how the rest of the round played out. How many people got to watch that back nine since it came out so recently? But it was so crazy looking back on it, how it all played out. During the front nine, I think David and I had 6 out of the 9 same scores on the front nine, and then the back nine, I think we only had 1 hole that we had the same score on. So it was just, when I think back to when we were talking about coverage and stuff, at the beginning of the round, I'm like, okay, I'd like to make this as entertaining of a watch for your channel as I can, while balancing that with staying within myself, being like reserved, kind of staying in the moment, being focused. So that was like the battle going on in my head. It's like, I want to put on a good show, but I got to play my game and stay within myself. And I think that came out on the back nine. It was a wild back and forth.
I will double down on that real quick for you and say, yes, you guys had 1 hole in the last 9 where you scored the same. Every other hole in the back 9 had some kind of scoring separation between the two of you. And I'm not going to lie, I am editing it together and I'm starting to do the math and I'm putting in the graphics and I'm like, wait, there's no way. Like, I'm looking at the score. I'm not getting ahead of myself because I didn't know how it unfolded, but I'm kind of looking at the score as I'm editing. I'm like, wait, what happens? Like, I was genuinely anxious to watch it myself as I was putting it together. And truth be told, I didn't do the filming. That was my buddy John from Pastry Dies. Normally I do the filming, so obviously I'm not that surprised when it comes to the edit. Well, this time I was doing the edit, and I'm just like, holy cow, what is going on here? And I had to go back multiple times to look at the scores to see how things all shook out. And it was a nail biter. And the fact that there was more people involved near the end, because you didn't think that was going to be the case. And yeah,
spoilers, bro.
Yeah, I know we're leading into it, but it is a very entertaining round, and it was a great battle, as you were saying. And the fact that there was this to degree of just maintaining your cool and being even keel, even when you weren't necessarily firing on all cylinders. I guess that would be my main question then, is how nervous were you? Did you feel like things were slipping away or completely out of contention for you?
Surprisingly not. You have those tournaments every so often where you realize after that you stayed within yourself and you kind of never thought you were out. We had a couple big swings and back and forth, and David being the local, playing with him before, not to disparage the other guys, I was watching his score. I was keeping the backup scorecard on UDisc, and I'm mainly concerned with David for the most part.
Sure.
And then
he's the most experienced player out there.
Mm-hmm.
And come, I think it was 17 or 18, and John's right there. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And he had not such the best front nine, and he lit it up on the back, and I'm like, holy cow. But even walking up to 18's one of those that I haven't been able to figure out in the tournament. Even casually, never done all that well, but finally figured it out over the past couple of weeks, what shot, what disc to throw. And fortunate to get out of the gap both rounds. The second round, obviously close enough for that short putt to win it. But yeah, stepping on the tee, it's like I didn't think I was out of it. I was just thinking, well, let's just finish this out and see what happens.
Yeah, I can't say it enough. It was a pleasure to watch it unfold, and then to see it. It was a little bit of a heartbreaker as well. I've known David a little longer than you. David's obviously such a just a stand-up gentleman in his own, and just an all-around great guy. And to see how it all kind of went down. And I then went back and looked at the scores. A lot of people also know Dan Schlitter. Last year, you bested him by a single stroke. The year before, it was David Heasley and Dan Schlitter by a stroke or two. I mean, we've had some really good battles with some very good, solid players, and you're finding your way to get out in front of them. And it's been pretty cool to see, throughout these last couple of years. And David Heasley himself, he had won this back in 2015, I think, is when he had taken down the event 7 years ago. So clearly, and I know some people may be saying you guys are lamenting and going on and on about a local C tier. It's a fun course in a great part of the state that is largely revered as a good tournament course for our regional players, and it's one of the few that I still run along with a handful of other people. So there's obviously a special place in my heart for it as well. So congratulations. It was awesome to see. That's for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, anytime I can get on here and talk to you guys, I will take it every time. Been a smashy for a long time. To just be sitting here talking to you guys the week after Paul Macbeth is on here, and then coming on right after Alden Harris, it's just absolutely insane. I can't believe it. It's awesome to talk to you guys, and I'll take it every time.
Well,
keep winning, man. We'll have you on for 4.
You keep earning it, and then some. I mean, you don't have to win to be here, but when you do, it makes the conversation that much more fun and exciting. So we're going to let you go. We certainly appreciate you joining us. Again, congratulations. That's a three-peat. I can't think of an event that I've ever run in the hundreds of events that I've run where somebody has stepped up and won 3 consecutive years, as you've done with this particular event. And it's been awesome to see. It's been great to get to know you over these last couple of years, and we'll keep filming, and hopefully you'll keep winning, and we'll keep having these conversations at least once a year. Now you just gotta pick up the Skyline victory at the same course in the springtime, and then we get you on twice a year. We'll take that too.
Are you sitting on some footage?
I am. We do have.
Year?
I do have Skyline from this year. We've got some New York footage. I've got Minnesota Majestic footage. December is going to be wild this year because I've got a ton of footage from a lot of different events that are going to be getting released. So yeah, we've got more of that as well.
John filmed me there, but didn't have such a hot second round.
Well, that's why we didn't have you on a few months ago. So. All right, Chris, we appreciate it. Love to the family. Thanks for joining us tonight. Congratulations. I hope you enjoyed your third serving of cold turkey and the victory this weekend. Yeah. And we'll certainly keep our eyes and ears open out there and see if we can get you hooked up with a sponsor. We'll put the screws to a few people. Come on, we'll make it happen. All right, have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Bye.
There you have it.
3-time cold turkey champion.
He
went back for thirds.
Yeah.
Seconds weren't enough.
Exactly.
The main meal, he went back for thirds.
Yes. Very impressive. Again, I think the last 2 years it's been 16 to 20 competitors in the division. And like I said, shot 10-21 golf, and then not quite as hot second round, but it was enough to hold him off and become your champion this weekend. So very cool to see. So real quick, we'll recap the top few spots there in MPO, which is the division I didn't mention earlier in the recap, was Chris, who we just talked to. Christopher Meyer took down first place, beating out David Heasley by a stick. And then another local came up during the second round, had the hot second round, and that is Robert Martin, who tied it all up with Jonathan Borzik. And then, as he just said, Louis Dimmock was in 5th place. Luke Hainwall, you can find out there on the social medias. He's on the TikToks, so make sure you go find him.
The TikToks.
So TikTok-y. Big shout out real quick. We had a couple of sponsors that stepped up, including Dan Harbeck, who's a longtime Smashy and a longtime friend of the show. Oh, I did not see that, but glad to see he was on the board. Him and I got a chance to catch up in person. He was also a huge pizza lunchtime sponsor that helped out with that as well. One of my favorite parts about this event is the fact that I go really heavy on the player pack thanks to Innova this year, but really heavy on the player offer up a free pizza lunch in between rounds because we're trying to conserve or trying to get through the day as quickly as possible. So rather than people having to leave the course and then possibly, take too long for lunch and whatever to turn things around quicker, we did about 15 or 18 pizzas each day and then dished those out to all the competitors. And that was largely in part thanks to help by Dan.
I didn't watch your drop zone, but was there someone that you saw that took like 6 pieces of pizza early in the thing? Did you put a note there? Because we've had this discussion before where if there's a free lunch, there's always the one person who shows up first and like loads his plate up rather than
19 pieces.
And then it's like, I got it. I'm out of here.
Yeah. And then they'll be the first to come back. No,
for seconds.
I learned years ago, and here's the pro tip, baby. I learned years ago, if there's free food, first of all, too many male adults act like they've never seen food before in their life just because it's free. Now they act like I've been starving for 9 years. Second of all, some people are just idiots and a-holes. And third of all, I've learned I hand out the pizza. Now that's twofold. That one was a COVID thing a couple of years ago to kind of assist with that so that there's not all these hands sticking in there at the time. But also, really the real reason is for me to hand out the portions, do my as best as I can to give everybody relatively similar portion. And then at the end, once all the cards are in, which is the number one concern, because the cards have to come in. And then after that, if all the cards are in, then seconds could potentially be handed out. But we all know there could be 3 cards still out on the course, and then there's a pack of wolves, or should I say players, that are hovering around. Hey, I'm ready for seconds. Are seconds available? And it's like, wait, there's still 12 people that haven't been in from, So this is why you have to control and maintain some of that. This is not a new phenomenon. I can't just pick on disc golfers, but when there is free food, I tell you, people just lose their shit. Like, I need this heaping plate full.
Free food, man.
Yeah. It's human nature is funny like that. I mean, it's no different than, or similar to the whole, take one candy bar and then you see mom pouring out the bucket.
Into the bag.
How are you doing that during Halloween knowing every other house on the planet has a ring? How are you doing that? How dumb are you?
I don't know.
Well, do they care to begin with, and then you're dumb.
But do you care?
Anyway, so dishing out the pizza is the way to do it. If there's extra, then you hand it out. But that's how we were able to make it happen. So thank you to Copper Bottom, who we worked with as a new sponsor. Thank you to the Schicks. Thank you to Tom McManus, Ryan Pilcher, Dan Harbeck, the Pastry Dies, Michael Burke. I think that was almost everybody. So thank you guys all for the support. I got to play a little bit of catch with Mr. Tom McManus this weekend. That's certainly goes down as one of the highlights for the weekend when it's all said and done. Dan Harbeck chimes in from the board. We love you, Dan. Says three-peated in Baraboo, 98, 99, and 97. 97, 98, 99. Nice work, Dan. I got back-to-back wins in Baraboo. 03 and 04 or 04 and 05, but that was open division, Dan. Saying.
Well, I do want to talk real quick. I know we had Alden Harris on, who announced his upping his sponsorship with Prodigy. But that wasn't the only announcement that came out in the last day or so. We saw that Lone Star Discs, they re-upped their sponsorship with Chandler Kramer. So he signed I don't know if it was a 1 year or a multi-year. I don't think it really specified, or I didn't see it particularly, with Lone Star as well. So Lone Star is out there, making, honestly, most of the
headlines right now, right?
Most of the headlines and most of the waves in the offseason with Nico and now Chandler. So we'll see kind of how that goes. Maybe Prodigy's trying to steal some thunder over there with the Alden. I have to wonder, speaking of Prodigy, what the other guys are looking at. I mean, I think we know that Gannon is still under contract, but what about an Isaac or a Gavin? The other members of their kind of crew. I'm curious to know if we're going to hear from them, and if
whether it's renewing or
if they're extending or what. But when they do announce, and they know where to do it, just like Alden. Follow Dad.
Daddy Alden. To read it right off of the Lone Star page, it says, we'd like to welcome Chandler Kramer back to the Lone Star family for the 2023 season. He's been busy helping us test new molds during the offseason and will be competing with a full Lone Star disc golf bag next year.
Because I think he did have a few other outlying pieces of plastic in his bag.
Yeah, kind of a
little bit of a mix. But now Lone Star has almost like a full, if not a full complement of drivers, mid ranges, putters, whatever they want, to be able to throw a full Lone Star bag. So they have quite a few discs now coming out of their
as they just released a new flight chart today. Actually, it says, check out the flight chart for the 25 molds we currently have available
molds
for purchase. So
amazing.
Moving in hot and heavy, and I feel like that's become more and more common now as the big boom of disc golf, and then people are getting right to it. I remember when molds, you'd think of a mold or two every few months or maybe a year, and now seeing some of these companies,
it used to be a really big deal when Innovo or Discraft would release a new disc, like a new mold. It would come out at Worlds or maybe the Memorial at the time, which was a huge event. You'd be like, oh my God, like we got the new Viper or Banshee in our players pack. Like, that's amazing. Now it feels like it's like every
other week,
every 2 months, manufacturer releases a new disc or an offshoot of a disc. Like, oh, this is our our TL3R Halo edition, whatever. And then you're like, oh, cool. Is that new? Maybe a kind of, yeah. Like, it just there are so many new discs and new plastics and everything coming out every day.
We saw the new Supreme lineup come out by Dynamic last week. I think that was within the last
right over there
week as well. I think we quickly touched on it, and they're going to continue to unfold from all the major manufacturers. So,
did you get anything on Black Friday? Were you able to order anything? I know Discraft had a big drop. Were you able to order anything?
I absolutely didn't order. I have not ordered one thing on the internet in the last week. Yeah, I
got a handful of the Midnight Lunas.
You would. No, that sounds like a good idea. But
I want to. Well, it's funny because I went to buy them, and I was on my phone. I was up north. The cell reception isn't great. Wi-Fi is non-existent where we were, and by the time it opened up and I got to the page, all of the 175 plus were sold out. Period. Like I could not have been more than 20 seconds into the sale, and those particular ones were unless they just didn't exist originally, they weren't out of stock. So I got some of the 172 to 173, 171 to 173 or something, whatever that was. So I got a small handful of those. In how big of a rookie I am, I just got to the page, hit buy, and then I realized, oh, I could pick what stamp I want, what foil.
You noob.
A total noob. I had no clue that they because they offer like the black on black, the Wonder Bread, and a couple other ones. I didn't even realize that was an option. I just went and bought because I wanted to buy as fast as possible, thinking that the other side sold out. So,
noob mistakes. No, I'm okay with the idea that I have not purchased anything. I have way too many just as it is, which I know sounds silly, but I've just, there's been a lot of stock purchases and things that have come out, and I've also done a small line of my own Disc Golf Guy stamps on stuff lately. I've got more than enough. The one thing I am super excited about that is related to disc golf purchases is the fact that I will soon be having a few hundred more disc golf bins show up. The big gray bins, the totes that you see a lot of the retailers. I've got a few hundred of those that are full. Well, I have ordered a few hundred more, and those will be available for purchase, usually for pickup, because they're so incredibly expensive to ship. So
I can sell you some of my Midnight Lunas for a low price of $100 a piece. I have no clue what they're going for online. I haven't honestly looked. I didn't care. I just wanted some. Figured I would grab some and just put them in my collection.
Such a Paul fanboy, I tell you.
Yeah, I think everybody should be. Dude's a pretty good dude.
He's all right. All right. Yeah, other than that, again, a couple of signings that we just talked about, still somewhat quiet. And we're moving into December.
This might be a quiet off season, or we might not really hear things until the first of the year.
Yeah. So we'll keep on listening and to see if there's anything else. And if anybody does have news or announcements that are of that nature,
you're obligated to do it here.
Yes,
it's in your contract. Don't read it. Just assume that it's here.
That's exactly how you should go about it. Someone's asking on the board about bottom stamp. Ooh, Barsby Scorpions. Greg Barsby did reach out to me, and this does segue or tie together what Chris had just asked. Greg Barsby said, hey, do you have some footage from the Minnesota Majestic? That was an event we kind of did as a bonus event this year. We do have single camera coverage of it, and it has maybe started being put together. Nonetheless, it will be part of the overall off-season bonus content montage of massive drops throughout December. So hopefully I'll be teaming up with Greg Barsby to do some of that action. I've got bonus footage all the way that literally dates back to the Memorial. I think we had some Masters footage of that. Lots of good stuff. So just know that it's coming. I apologize if you've been anxiously waiting for something in particular. I think 99% of what I have was all bonus footage that there wasn't a contract for, or necessarily any hard, steady deadline to. So now's the time when it then gets assembled and released so that you have fresh stuff to watch. Something I did find interesting, and I'm excited. I should have reached out to her. On my way here, I saw that Callie McMorrin posted and said something about a big announcement for Masters players. And I don't know what that means. Maybe it's a tour, a series, an event.
Maybe a big.
You got any guesses?
Sure, I do have a guess.
Speculate. Let me read it. There is a big announcement coming on December 1st. All you Masters better get ready.
My guess is a good big sponsor for one of the big Masters majors, like either the Tim Selinsky or there's one other one,
Pro Masters Worlds
or Pro Masters Worlds. Thank you. Totally.
The other big one.
The other big one. Thank you. I'm willing to bet. Not willing to bet. That's the wrong way to put it, because I'm not. Because it could be anything. But a big sponsor for one of those particular events, I think, would be a good guess.
Okay.
I just don't think, like, I know you mentioned tour. I don't think we're at that level yet.
But we don't know.
Not to say it couldn't happen. You know, if there was one, I feel like maybe something would have.
Ben Gay's in the business, and they are the title sponsor of a 10-stop series.
Well, that's funny, because I've got an 11-stop series with Icy Hot.
Okay. You and Shaq.
That's right.
Okay.
No, and again, I just in general would have thought maybe something would have leaked out a little bit before that, but maybe not. I think sponsorship is my guess.
Okay, I'm gonna guess, and I swear to you, I genuinely have no idea what she's referencing.
Okay,
I saw the post, and that was it. My guess is, I know there was a little frustration that it felt like we had an Elite Series event maybe the same time as the Selinsky event in Eugene.
Oh, sure.
And
So you couldn't
I'm
double down.
wondering if a conflict has been resolved in terms of having them on the same weekend. I knew that was a question and a concern in the early scheduling, and now I'm wondering if maybe that has been resolved.
Possible.
A lot of people were very frustrated by that in one way or another. I'm not pointing fingers or blaming anyone.
All
but,
6 of the people that would play in the Pro Tour / Master event.
Well, that's exactly what I said, and that's a very good, solid knee-jerk reaction. I agree. The bigger problem was 2 very, very largest scale events taking place in the same state on the same weekend,
volunteers,
then pulling volunteers and
like that. I understand. Like that is a problem that in general, that is a PDGA problem. And, we might run into that sort of issue every couple of years where just Masters happens to hit in a location where the tour is coming through. And and can it be avoided? Maybe with a lot of foresight, but I think we just might something that a problem that we have. And hopefully we don't.
I'll use a similar example. I feel like, and I might be mixing up my years now a little bit, but I feel like a few years ago or maybe even last year, the Pro Masters Worlds was in conflict with like an Idlewild, but it was taking place in Peoria, which aren't obviously that far apart, and you have a few crossover players, but
you're not pulling resources between the 2 events.
Correct, but as you're still saying, there's going to be potentially that conflict anytime you're talking about having our majors that are still going on during weekends where Elite Series are taking place, but they're age protected majors. There's only, I'll say this in everyone's defense, there's only so many weekends in a year. Like to some degree,
I know you're
always, and we're almost at that time of year where we get to stand on our soapbox and say, you're always going to have a conflict somewhere. You always are. Your favorite B tier or the A tier that you love so much is going to go up against some other event that you really want to be at or feel like you need to be at. There's always going to be some form of conflict. It's just a matter of how big is that conflict for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. All right. And on a personal note, Johnny V and I are just seeing some early goings and haven't had much feedback yet, but seeing some early goings of potential DGPT assignments and contractual conversations that may be taking place for 2023.
There's a
yesterday,
spreadsheet starting to be pushed around behind the scenes as far as, for those of you that don't
teams
know,
and groups,
teams, commentary groups, cameramen, who's in control rooms. That is starting to kind of surface and get adjusted. So I've like I said, we kind of looked at it and I already saw 2 adjustments that need to be made immediately. That I will at some point talk to Mo about, but yes, that type of
retainers.
I mean,
big time contracts, signing bonuses. I'm gonna need a van or something.
For something, just anything, just weird. Just they need to rent you a van when you go somewhere because it's
it's gonna need to be all decked out. Yeah,
like
riders and
no, I'm thinking the van with the spray paint on the side with the airbrush, something like the Tear Bear brush.
Yeah, the Tear brush, I
like Tear Bear brush.
Yeah, something like that. I feel like that needs to be somewhere in my contract. Good idea.
I think you should. I think you should definitely be asking for those things. And Reese's peanut butter cups.
Those I can get on board with real quick.
I'm just saying,
jerky.
I love me some Reese's peanut butter cups.
You're not getting an argument out of me.
Okay.
All right, what you're going to get is me closing out the show, our regular show. We have to thank both of our guests tonight. We had Alden Harris and, of course, Christopher Meyer. Thank you guys both for joining us and providing a little insight. Super excited to see what's going on. And it's so great to have, in my opinion, 2 very different guests in the sense of where disc golf is taking both of them, where they are on their life path and journey within disc golf, but yet both great upstanding gentlemen, and awesome to have them here and catch up with them and have their insights as we're going to move into 2023. We love to see it and hear from it. You're going to also see and hear a little bit of a Patreon call out in the after show Of course, we're going to have our free giveaway as we do every week. So thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers.
Patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
That's where you can find it. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That has been Smashbox TV's podcast 431. We're going to take a very quick break, and then we'll be back to you in the after show where things are going to get silly. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 431's After Show. Oh. Here we are. It's the after show.
What do we do?
Johnny, what happens in the after show?
This is where things get silly, Terry. We answer questions off the board. We talk about random things that we wouldn't normally talk about on the regular show. That could be anything from movies we've seen to TV shows we've watched to concerts we've gone to random strangers you've picked up in your car. Literally, it's endless. The things we can talk about. The chat board is open. You can ask us any questions you'd like, whether that's disc golf related or whether it's personal.
Very personal.
Yeah. You want me to sit here and count Terry's gray hairs in his beard? I'll do it. I'll color them. I've got a little black marker here.
I don't have that many, do I?
Yeah, you do.
They're coming in.
They're coming in pretty good, Terry Bear.
Oh.
That's why I don't grow mine out.
Yes. You're just a light shade of peach. That's the difference.
I shaved this morning.
Uh-huh.
Again, it bothers me because, I shave twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays usually. But when I do get one, and again, I get them as long as they're just spread out.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very patchy.
Like all 6 of them.
Yeah, exactly. But when one of the 6 is white, I'm like, oh, you son of a, So,
well, here we are. It's the after show, and like Johnny said, stuff coming in off the board works well for us. You guys are really helping drive the bus here, and it may or may not be disc golf related. That's totally fine with us. I'm taking a look at one of the most recent comments that came in. Dan Harbeck says, do you guys need representation? And that's an interesting question, because you do think about what our players do, and then you also think about some of your talent. I hate referring to myself as that, but in the industry, in the biz, that's what they call it, I guess, I'd be considered talent. And you got to figure every major talent has an agency and or a manager or representative, lawyer, whatever, all of those types of things that represent them. Now, we're not quite that formal at DGPT.
Oh, I was thinking at
DGN,
Smashbox in
or
general.
Definitely Smashbox. Do we need representation? I mean, yeah, I guess, so just for what it's worth, and this is nothing new, Johnny and I have been contracted to the Disc Golf Network and the Disc Golf Pro Tour for all of these years.
Last 3 years, we had a working agreement.
Yes, and then before that, a looser working agreement, but nonetheless.
Well, before that, nobody else could do it but us. So
yeah, and that was all with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Steve Dodge and crew, and then obviously it had transitioned over. And
I got a nice text from Steve Dodge on Thanksgiving.
So did I.
Just wishing me.
We're not special.
No, we're not. He probably sent it to everybody.
Mass text. Dang it!
He has
everyone that's ever ordered Birdie. It was heartfelt.
He pays for a service that just replaces. And I sent him a text back.
I got an auto reply. It was weird.
Well,
no. And so this year, in theory, we are up of our previous 3-year agreement, and I guess as you're asking, Dan, does that make sense to have some representation? Do we really need a middle person with the operation in which we're at? Is that the structure we're going to continue to have? I guess it will largely depend on how many weekends both Johnny and I are involved with the network. And that, we know now the network has expanded to upwards of like 30, 35, 40 weekends of golf in some capacity, whether that's your extra events like your match play events, to your all-star weekends and everything else, and then the majors that they've taken on in terms of covering them for the PDGA, all the Elite Series, the silver events. I mean, it's a massive undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are all conversation pieces that need to be had as to what our involvement is, who it is, how often, what that looks like. There's some things that are not ironed out, I guess is the best way that I would word that. And I don't mean that in a negative way. They're just, pen hasn't been put to paper yet.
Well, and if you're talking specifically about maybe Smashbox in general, we've always kind of just been, I don't want to say we've foregone advertisements, because I do listen to a lot of other disc golf podcasts, and a lot of them have advertising, whether it's a bag sponsor or a disc sponsor or something like that, being like, oh, this is brought to you by Colt 45 or whatever.
Yes.
And Billy D. Williams.
A lot of malt liquors
out there sponsoring disc golf podcasts. But on one hand, I always think like, oh, it would be nice to have a sponsor, someone to actually like pay some bills, because I don't need free stuff. I want cold hard cash.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think, we've always kind of been a little lazy. We have never really put ourselves out there and sought out sponsorship. Now, there are companies that have worked with us and phenomenally, whether it's been a Patreon giveaway, Disc in a Box continually sends us a monthly box that we turn around and give to our Patreon supporters. And even little things like that, they help us out. Obviously, cash is king.
Disc Baron Digital Green Room.
Green Room.
And that's really, and that was somewhat organic in that he just more or less insisted in saying, hey, we'd like to support you financially. And that's been great. But yeah, we have not actively gone to seek out sponsors otherwise.
And part of it is I really like that we are sponsored by our viewers, by the Patreon supporters. I really do like that. I'm not saying that we would, depending on the situation, we would forego an advertiser, but I don't mind how we have it now, because adding a sponsor in there always adds obligations, and then if Lone Star sponsors us, and suddenly I need to say something maybe not so positive about Lone Star for whatever reason on a particular week, or any particular sponsor, that always puts us in an awkward spot. But
Yeah, freedom of speech, man. I want to say whatever the F I want about whoever I want.
Okay, Elon.
That's how that works.
Yes, that's right. You should
No repercussions.
You know what
man.
I should do?
No regrets. Either.
No regrets. I should yell at sponsors like Elon does, and complain that they're not sponsoring us, because
Yes.
that's what he just did with Apple.
Oh, okay.
Basically, Apple traditionally purchased advertising on Twitter in the tune of like about 100 million every quarter, I think is what
Dang.
it was, or maybe it was 50 million every quarter, something like that, which is pennies to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they pulled back their advertising due to the way things are going. And so he goes out on Twitter and he's like, "What's up, Apple? How come you pulled back your advertisement? Don't you like free speech?" And it's like, is that really how you want to get your advertisers back? Like calling them out like that rather than maybe a private conversation with someone like, "Hey, how come you're not advertising with us this thing? What can we do to maybe make this?" No, instead, I think we should start calling out sponsors out loud. What do you think, Terry? Who's the first sponsor we call out for not sponsoring us?
Well, we've kind of had a running one for many years.
Well, yeah, you've called out Discmania for years and years and years.
I have, and they still have yet to sponsor the show. So I guess that's going as planned.
It's still going as planned.
And yet I buy Discmania products with my logo on it. So it shows you how much I I stick to that. Yeah, it's like you said, it goes along with obligations. I'm gonna just a little spoiler. I'm going to absolutely sell out in every possible way if I continue any of my other podcasts.
Yeah, as you should.
I got to get that bag, I think they say.
I might do another podcast as well next season, and I'll totally sell out.
But I did have a great conversation today, specifically with another fellow content producer in Bobby Brown. And I know he's doing great work. And
I just talked to Bobby.
I know.
Wow, nice.
We can share him. We can share him.
He likes me.
I knew
more.
him first.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. But he's working on a lot of great stuff, which I think we could maybe even have him on and talk about sometime soon. But it was a conversation about what things like going rates are within disc golf and what service, what return are we or you or I individually or whomever, what does that ROI look like, and how integrated in is it, and does it just sound like an ad read? And there's so many things to that sometimes it's, if you just avoid them or don't do any of them, then you're not faced with any of that awkwardness. Because
speaking of awkwardness, manscaping. Let me tell you about the new Manscaping.
Johnny V shaved me up, and it was great.
It wasn't awkward at all.
No. So I'm not obviously. I think they can be perfectly integrated. I think there is a good fit. I think things can be natural and genuine. It's just a matter of
Genuine. Get his newest CD now out on Columbia Records.
Pony. Brought to you by Serious Hits Now, version 2.
Now that's what I call music.
Perfect. So there is a lot of different ways to go about it. And, well, I guess we'll see. Like we said, oftentimes here on Smashbox, we've had merchandise sponsors that, have said, "Hey, we've got something going on. Can we give something away?" And that's great. It certainly helps you, the viewers, if and when that can turn around and benefit you guys. That doesn't pay our web hosting or any of the expenses here or help us, but it does help the viewers, and in turn makes everything a little bit better. So that's a lot of rambling to say. Who knows where it's all gonna land? But we do appreciate you guys joining us.
Someone said
I think we'd love to know is, and this is something we've talked about privately, is it's tough to know both a reach and a listener base and what an industry standard is within disc golf.
Oh, yeah.
We know that we've been around a long time. That certainly guarantees us no level of success. We've just been here a long time. What do other podcast downloads and listeners look like? What is a going rate for those types of things? I think that's what's really interesting, because there's clearly niche markets out there where you could say woodworking. You go out to, DIY.
I watch a lot of it.
Yeah, woodworking podcasts. And there's probably some kind of metrics if somebody has put together in an industry big enough that says, here's what, low level and high level and medium level podcasts, here's what you could expect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have any of those industry standards or metrics that have been put together for disc golf. I guess That sounds like a project that could be taken on by somebody way smarter than us. But
Oh,
it would be interesting because who knows where things shake out? What is considered good? You think of your largest, your larger or longer running podcast networks within disc golf, and it'd be curious to see how they all stack up. Not from a pissing contest, but just from an overall curiosity of what does that look like, and then what's the value that's placed on those. I don't know.
We're saying we'll sell out for the right price.
Yes,
For the right price.
if we're really summing it up.
Yeah, I'll become, as someone said, I'll become the lord of a 1 square foot patch of land.
Yes, you will. Yeah, Scotland or Ireland or wherever it is.
Wherever it is. Yeah, it's funny because someone said that the Jomez was promoting the established titles company, that's exactly what you do. You buy a 1 square foot plot, and some of the woodworking videos that I do watch. It's funny that you mentioned them. They are pushing that particular service
offering
pretty recently.
Yeah, and clearly there's, when you have we'll say a channel as large as Jomez, for instance, they're clearly on the radar. There's these massive ad agencies and or conglomerates or whatever that are, scanning through or getting a report of here's their demographic. That's coming all from YouTube analytics. Here's their demographic. Here's what their viewership looks like. Here's, their frequency of posting, blah, 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 their engagement. And then therefore, they make them an offer and you decide if you want to sign on to that or not. I mean, those are all, none of that's surprising to see.
Correct.
And it's interesting when we do cross over into some of that quote unquote mainstream regular marketing that you're seeing, whether it's like a Manscaped or some of these other
AG
brands.
Greens or whatever.
Or Mudwater or whatever, some of these standard YouTube commercials that you often see, and then see them even getting into, the disc golf realm. It's kind of crazy.
Sam asks if we've ever been reached out by one of the mattress companies or anything. No, we haven't. Those like Purple and Helix, and there's a couple other ones I think that we're advertising. Or like those Dollar Shave things. Those were very popular for a while as far as online advertising. We haven't been reached out. I get an email probably once every 2 months from some podcasting conglomerate that wants to talk to us, quote unquote, talk to us about, not sponsoring isn't the right, about
some kind of partnership or affiliate.
Exactly.
Program.
Affiliate. And I usually just delete and ignore those. And maybe that's dumb of me. Maybe I should be looking at those, but I don't want. I've heard too many bad stories about podcasts that have joined those that somehow, in general, now lose the rights to their podcast, or they get somehow stuck with a big bill because of just the way the negotiations work. I'm not interested in joining any of those particular type of networks. But stop. New sentence. Tomorrow, I'm going to be recording an interview with a different podcast who is part of a podcast network.
You sell out.
I am. Chili Disc Days is a podcast about fantasy disc golf.
What?
Yeah. So
I wish it was about chili dogs. Actually, I don't. I don't like chili dogs.
Like chili dogs. Like hot dogs, though. Like different hot dogs. I would do a lot of research. Like cheese dogs, kosher versus not. Like I could get into that. I could definitely do a hot dog podcast if I needed to. But anyway, I'm gonna sit and have an interview with a gentleman by the name of Matt Williams, and he's gonna have me on because he started a podcast with one of these larger podcast networks that does fantasy sports for all different sports. And he apparently reached out to them and was like, "Hey, I'd like to do one for disc golf." And they were like, I assume they went like, "What? Huh?" And then they looked into it. They're like, "Oh, cool. Yeah. Here's our platform. Here's whatever you need." And so I'm going to have I'm going to be talking with Mr. Matt Williams tomorrow night. It won't be live. It'll be recorded and then come out on his thing, which is called Chill Disc Days. It's a disc golf podcast. You can find it, I think, on Spotify and all the other major podcast stuff. But we're just going to be talking about fantasy disc golf stuff, like what's coming up, what we're looking at, probably a little bit of history. I listened to one or two of his podcasts. They sound perfectly fine, but they're only a half hour.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm a little nervous.
What's he doing with all his time?
I don't know. I kind of want to reach out and be like, "Are you ready?" because we like to talk here on this podcast, and just getting into it is could be one thing. So,
yeah, I think about does he do it as a post-production podcast because he doesn't trust the dumb shit you're going to say?
Oh, more than likely. He's probably live every other week, but then he's like, ugh.
Like, we can't have this.
I don't know what this a-hole's going to say.
Probably a good call. All right, let's see if there's anything on the board that's come in. Sam just chimed in and said one of the other patron podcasts, that is patron-supported, only looks to have about two times the subs. He was talking about how it was not worth it to be sponsored and how little the ads paid. Yeah, I could see that, and of course they're all going to make it sound like they're have all this money lined up for you.
Correct, but then
to get you into the network to find out you're getting a 0.5% of a penny on a maybe.
They've got $100 and they have to split it between
Yeah.
whatever 17 podcasts they have, and then it's based on your total subs or something weird like that.
Without going too much, again, being too repetitive of the drop zone last night, but a major point I did skip out on and forgot about while I did it, which means I should make notes before.
And for
I
those of
go
you that
live.
don't know, the Drop Zone is Terry's kind of other podcast, his podcast on the side.
I'm trying to think. There needs to be some form of a tagline for it and or summation of it, and it's really quick hitting rants and raves.
When you say quick hitting, how long are your episodes?
30 minutes or less.
Okay.
So compared to this, yes, quick.
Most people think quick hitting is like
5 or
5
10 minutes.
minutes, but
Sure.
sure. I get it.
But
I'm there.
yes,
I'm here for you.
They are. It is meant to be timely and topical. So if, for instance, big news of something comes out on a Wednesday and we can't sit around and wait till the next Tuesday to have a good conversation about it, we'll probably still talk about it. But maybe if there's something that's really, really, really pertinent and or something that just gets my goat on a Wednesday, like I want to be able to just go live and talk about it for a few minutes. So I did have one last night where I quickly talked and recapped a little bit about just tournament etiquette, which could be one of a million part
Yeah,
series,
I mean, there's
right?
a ton of tournament etiquette,
Of
whether
course.
it's everything from registration all the way to awards.
Yeah, and everything in between. Well, one of the things that we experienced this weekend was the fact that I feel like because of inclement weather that was forecasted for Sunday, there was a huge uptick in people wanting to withdraw. That's fine. I understand you don't want to play in inclement weather. You don't have to lie to me and tell me somebody's sick. Maybe you were sick because I know a lot of sickness is going around. But by and large, there was a huge uptick within 12 hours of the event of a lot of people wanting to withdraw. I'm probably too accommodating, but for the most part, I went along with it. Biggest takeaway, though, that I forgot to touch on, don't effing no-call, no-show. I mean, that's just common courtesy. That is just common sense. Do not no-call and no-show to an event. Unless you've been in a car accident, unless someone passed away or something tragic happened where it just was not feasible to call or to send any form of message on at any point, don't no-call, no-show to a tournament. And the major reason for that, I don't even care about your refund at that point and everything else that may or may not go along with that.
I feel like if you no call, no show, you forfeit your
100%. And that
forfeit
is finally where I'm drawing a line.
Good.
But besides that,
Your entry
it
fee, yeah.
really, really can F with the tournament.
Just the groupings, because if you
The
have two people,
groupings,
no call, no show,
exactly.
then you have a twosome. You get out to the course, and nobody knows. And
Everyone's
suddenly
frantic 2 minutes before they're about to start throwing.
nobody got their card because one of the no-shows was the top of the card, so nobody grabbed the card to bring it out. Now you and this other dude are looking at each other, and you're like,
Where do we go? How do we play? What
and
should we do?
You go to that card, I go to this card? Or
If you know, yeah.
yeah.
So don't, and again, there are emergencies. I understand emergencies, certainly. Things happen. But more often than not, here in 2022, moving into 2023, a very quick phone call, email, or text, those are usually under like 30 seconds at this point. You can make those happen in under 30 seconds. Shy of a life and death emergency,
Sure.
a quick heads up. Can't make it. Even if you don't explain yourself, not making it today. Those are like the fewest amount of words you need to get through it. There was some of that this weekend, and I had one unique scenario too, where a pair of people showed up on Sunday morning, which there was rain in the forecast for the afternoon. And my player packs, by the way, are super heavy. So essentially that's what you're getting. You're getting this massive players pack, and then you're playing for trophies. Trophy only is what most would call it, or true amateur. Anyway, they arrived. They showed up. They checked in. They got their sweet player pack, all deservingly. And then they left and didn't tell me.
I'm good up until that, and then they left.
Like
if you're going to get all of that, you're like, cool, we live like 10 miles away, whatever. We came to get the thing. We're not going to play. We're going to bail out. Cool, tell the TD. But to get all of that, check in, and then not show up.
And then they just didn't go to their hole. 2 people.
Maybe
they just didn't go. They were there.
Maybe they went to the wrong course. I know it's only one course, but maybe they went to the other course.
They were at the course. They got their player. I'm good with all of that. If you said, hey, you know what, it's going to rain this afternoon, I'd just rather not even play. I'm just here to get my stuff. I would have been cool. Here's your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. No problem at all. Every TD is good with that. Don't just leave. Don't not say a word to anyone that you've just left, because then that put 2 other groups into this awkwardness of, hey, are we missing somebody? Where are they? What's going on? It was a very strange scenario to have that one happen as well. In all of my years, in all of my tournaments, that was a new one. You showed up, you got all the stuff, and then you immediately just left and went without telling anyone. So please don't do that. Please don't do that. Yeah.
So I have to ask you, Terry, and I think I know the answer to this. Have you followed World Cup at all?
Funny you ask.
Oh, geez. Funny I ask.
The most I have followed of the World Cup, and this isn't being braggadocious, is there was a game today that apparently everybody watched or cared about.
U.S. versus Iran.
That's... I think I caught on the tweets, that somebody said it doesn't matter if we win or lose because we're moving on.
Nope.
That's what I thought I saw. Other than knowing there was a game, you could have given me 10 guesses. I wouldn't have said Iran. I wouldn't have said any of that. I knew there was a game today because more than one person told me they were watching the game today. I have watched literally 0 seconds of it, and it's just because
I watched a little bit over Thanksgiving weekend because, again, I'm up in the middle of nowhere, so they get all of 3 I think 8 channels, including Comet, which is like all the world's oldest sci-fi channels. But so World Cup was on, and I watched a little bit of the Netherlands game from this weekend. But no, the exact opposite. The U.S. needed to win to move on.
Oh.
If they did not win, they would not have moved on. Even a tie would have lost because they've basically tied each game they've played. They had not won a game, but they had not lost a game either. So they needed to win this in order to move on. So they did beat Iran, and now are moving on to the Sweet 16, even though they don't call it that. But they've moved past the knockout round, I think is what it's called. So it's a big deal for U.S. soccer, of which I care very little about, particularly. It's just not my sport. But it is a huge, it's a world phenomenon right now. But the U.S., it's a big deal for U.S. soccer and sports.
Yeah, because traditionally, isn't our U.S. soccer only good on the women's side, which doesn't get nearly enough credit? Isn't that kind of the...
it's U.S. women's soccer has been good for a little while on the women's side, and the men's side has been touch and go, never really great. But this is, and again, I don't know much, but my understanding is this is a pretty solid team. Not phenomenal, not like bad, but just a good team to watch, a fun team to watch, apparently. So
yeah, I mean,
and I didn't get a chance.
A bunch of ties. It sounds.
Please
tell me it's tying at 0-0. That would be the only thing that makes it better.
Yeah. They did tie England 0-0, and England is like the number quote unquote 5
defense wins championships
5 team in the
like
world or something.
Insert that at any point, any sport.
Any sport you can
defense wins championships,
except for disc golf. Tell me how defense wins championships in disc golf. Now, unless Aaron Gossage is out there knocking Paul Macbeth's discs out of the sky, defense does not win championships in our sport.
Okay, maybe not in disc golf,
but in general, yes. So it's a big worldwide phenomenon right now. Now we play again on Saturday. My understanding is I think we play the Netherlands, which is like one of the best teams in the world, is my understanding. I haven't watched much of the U.S. games. I watched a little bit. Again, I watched a little bit of the England game this weekend, but I don't have a TV at work right now or ever. So we do have a TV in our kitchen area, but it's around the corner from me, so I don't get a chance. I'd literally have to like get out of my desk, walk 50 feet, turn around and watch it, and then I'm not in front of my computer, which is where I'd prefer to be. So, but anyway, World Cup, big deal right now.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound disparaging of the worldwide phenomenon that the World Cup is, but like yourself, I'm just not a huge fan or a fan.
Yeah,
but I'm glad everybody else loves it. I think it's great. It's
a little. I'll say this, and soccer fans will hate me. It's a little less boring when it's a World Cup versus anything else. Even a 0-0 game, it seems like the action is a little bit more exciting because you know what's on the line. But ultimately, like, just man, still, I'm gonna play the stupid American here, and God, do I hate some things about soccer. Like, stop making your clock count up, and when the time runs out, the time runs out. Don't give me bonus time that I don't know when it's going to end. Those are the two things that bother me the most. And
you sound like a stupid American.
I'm sure I do. I think they, count down from 90 minutes down to 0 and make that end exciting, as opposed to cool. We're at 91 minutes.
An arbitrary
2 minutes.
Somebody kept track of the.
Somebody did
time,
keep
right?
track. The officials have the time, but
I think when lives are on the line for some of these contests, that's when I think you think there would be a little bit more officiality to it in that sense, considering how serious it's taken. But
there are some countries that do take it very, very seriously, and obviously this match that we had with Iran is kind of arguably maybe a big deal just because of the bigger right now worldwide issues that are happening, like the big protests in Iran with over like just their political everything, so there. And how the U.S. is handling that in general. So there is some geopolitical issues going on behind the scenes, but ultimately it's it's a soccer match. So we'll see. They've got a cool special soccer ball that has like a chip in it though, so they can sense when anyone like touches the ball. And so they didn't. I don't know if they officially took away or they just never gave a goal to, like Ronaldo, one of the biggest. Like he's like, no, I touched it with my head, and they're like, nope, ball doesn't say you did. Sorry, apparently it went in, and he's like, no, I did, and they're like, nope, sorry, you don't get it.
Balls don't lie.
Yeah, that's right. So they he was, I think, slightly upset that he didn't get credit for the goal.
When we're talking about the severity of some of these matches and the significance and the outcome, any form of technology of that nature seems like it would be appropriate at this point, with what the consequences ultimately end up being. So, okay.
There's your World Cup review.
Thank you. I'll check in with. Will we have it next week still? How many more weeks are we gone?
Well, depends how long the U.S. makes it, because that's about as much as anyone here is going to care about it.
Oh, no. I know.
Overseas, we've got some overseas listeners, and I'm sure they're going to care, like, some people maybe in the Netherlands and things like that will maybe move on.
And speaking of worldwide travels, tomorrow, when you're listening to this, I will be heading to Gainesville, Florida. Super excited to be going down to the Cho. Get my Cho on. It's Cho time. The Chain Hawk Open, presented by Dynamic Discs. And I've been there for the last few years, had a lot of fun covering this event in some capacity. And Fox Hills has traditionally been kind of your go-to lead card coverage. This year, it looks like I'm going to step into that role. And I'm going to do what I've done in the past couple of years, which is work really hard to have the fastest turnaround ever. It's going to be single camera. super fast upload, everything else. I'm gonna be. I hate to promise it now, but I'm shooting for same day uploads.
Ooh.
So that people
You heard it here first.
by the out on the West Coast may be able to actually watch the day's action if everything goes well for me.
It'll be uploaded after every 9 holes.
Yeah, it's become a fun challenge for myself over these last couple of years, and I'm going to see if I can keep that train rolling. So the show, there will be a skins match that takes place on Thursday, and then we'll have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday coverage coming to you all on the Disc Golf Guy channel. So yeah, hopefully you tune in, watch some sweet action from this weekend. That's if you're not already caught up in the cold turkey. I mean,
I
that's
do
an
need to catch
all-weekend
up on
affair.
the cold turkey.
Yes, you certainly should. All right, Johnny, it looks like we're almost all fired up and ready to go for our Smashbox TV Patreon giveaway.
Yeah, 158 people are eligible for our giveaway. You can be eligible by signing up at patreon.com/SmashboxTV, or if you go to smashbox.tv/weekly winners, I believe, .html, or weekly giveaways. I think it's weekly giveaways.html. I don't know. Robert and Gordon don't ever have a problem finding it because they're in it every week. So that is the free way that you can become eligible for our weekly giveaway.
No purchase necessary, I think, as the kids say.
That's what all the kids say on the TikToks.
Mm-hmm.
So 158 people are eligible for our giveaway tonight. Terry Miller, how do you exactly want to do this?
I mean, it's a no-brainer. Chris joined us tonight and gave us the three-peat on the cold turkey. So I think it's going to have to be the third person drawn.
All right. I did sort. So here's how I sorted them tonight. I sorted them by overall donation amount.
Wow.
To Smashbox, because I sorted it. So our newest patrons are up at the top of the list.
Okay.
And the patrons that have been the most giving are towards the bottom of the list.
We love them.
Oh, yes. It's almost like it's weighted by love.
Yeah, that's how I would describe my body shape.
Weighted by love? It's not how I would describe it, but our first number is
Sheeran
118.
said he's in love with the way. Wait, never mind.
Our second number is 48. Our third and final number that we're drawing.
Who wants it?
Is going to be
126.
126.
Somebody who's been with us, maybe not necessarily as long, but is certainly dishing it out.
126. Let me scroll up to 126 here.
And we appreciate it so very much.
Joseph Culp. Congratulations, Joseph Culp.
Thank you, Joseph.
Joseph has been a patron since, let's see if I can find it here, 2017.
That is a long-time listener.
That is a long-time Patreon supporter.
I'm guessing he just forgot his Patreon password and then it just keeps
charging his credit card.
Most people would leave us by now. No, we appreciate it, Joseph.
Much like our wives.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being with us for so long and being such a steadfast Patreon supporter. We very much appreciate it. That is to almost keep us ad-free. And sometimes substance-free.
I'm never substance-free.
Oh. Okay.
That, like, I know you've been pushing for that, what is it, Founders Brewery sponsorship. I'm going to push for Knob
title
Creek.
Sponsor. They will be title sponsor of my new podcast.
I'm going to push for some Knob Creek or some whiskey, any whiskey. I'm not particular. If you are a whiskey maker and would like to send me some samples or a bottle or 12, I would be happy to sit and drink while I'm doing this.
We're gonna have to see, and I'll have to share some of this. A gentleman reached out who makes mead, which I think some refer to as honey wine. I am very unfamiliar with this world, but had reached out to me during the nightly visits I was doing at the USDGC. Mead is an alcoholic beverage made by fermenting honey mixed with water and sometimes with added ingredients such as fruits, spices, grains, and hops. Alcohol content ranges from 3.5 to more than 20%. So quite a range. I was sent some from a gentleman in Michigan. And then I followed up with him and said, hey, just so you know, I definitely did receive this. Thank you so much. But I have not been consuming anything during November. So when that gets busted out, it's sitting currently in my in my dining room when that officially gets open and
It's like
busted
3
out.
days, so you get like just shit faced, just hammered on December 1st.
No, I have self-control. I just we'll ease into it. But it's kind of interesting that there's this beverage that I don't think you or I have ever had or heard of before.
I've heard of it. I've heard of mead. There's
Okay.
it's actually very obviously you've got like Renaissance fairs that do a lot of people that will make different types of mead and bring them there. But it is a not, I don't want to say a lost art, but it is a very a less than done type thing. A lot of people make mead like private brews.
Yeah.
So that is ultimately, I think I watched a YouTube video on a website or a channel called Modern Rogue where they did a mead make, and there's kind of like they do all sorts of things, everything from they'll teach you how to do sword fighting one week and make mead, and then make like a fancy drink, because they just kind of all over the board, how to make a weapon, like how to make a bludgeon, things like that. And just one of their things they did
along with
was
some beverages, alcohol.
Yeah, get yourself some mead and bludgeon somebody.
I love it. Well, this came to us from Maniacal Mead Company out of Ypsilanti, almost said Illinois, Ypsilanti,
Don't
Michigan.
insult
So thank you, Mr. Frazier. I appreciate it. And again, looking forward to giving it my first ever try.
Sam Martin asks a good question, and I guess I can share it here, even though I haven't really sent an email out yet because I've just been working with Miles from Paragon about changes to the Patreon tiers. Basically, Sam, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be removing the $10 tier, and that might not affect you. I'd have to take a look for sure. We have a few people at the $10 tier where I was sending out like quarterly pieces of clothing and things like that, and usually what'll happen is I'll miss a quarter because I'm busy and I forget, and by the time I look, I'm like, oh crap, it's like a quarter later. And then I'll send out like a nicer piece of, normally it was going to be like a t-shirt, and I'd send out something a little bit nicer the next quarter. I'm starting to run out of ideas. And so what I'm going to do instead is we're going to end the $10 tier. And what we'll do then is I'm going to, as a thank you to our $10 Patreon supporters, I'm working with Miles from Paragon to get a really nice item that I'm going to send out to all the people who are $10 supporters recently. And we're going to work with that. And so they'll get a very custom item from Smashbox for anyone that was part of that $10 Patreon supporter tier. All the other Patreon supporter tiers will say the same: the 5, the 3, the 2, the 1. It's just the $10 level that I've literally started to run out of ideas. There's only so many shirts I can make and send out from different ideas that I have. I think the last one I had, like, it was a Super Mario Brothers font that's in Smashbox and things like that. So I had bigger plans for it way back when, but then life gets in the way. So that's really the big change. It's not a huge thing, but I'm going to let everybody know that if you can continue to support us at the $10 level, we won't stop you, but the actual Patreon tier, the clothing, is probably going to go away. So,
all right. And we, of course, can forever appreciate anyone and everyone that jumps on in any capacity, whatever that is. We had
Sam says, "Oh yeah, that was me."
I had a gentleman this weekend ask as well about how it all works. I certainly explained that a lot of different creators within Patreon, originally when they created it, they had kind of one business model for it or one strategy for how people could support anyone on Patreon. Now there are a multitude of ways to do it, and we have one strategy. The Disc Golf Guy has one. Joe Mez versus Central Coast versus GK Pro. Everybody kind of does it a little bit differently. So just make sure you read up and know what you're jumping on to support in whatever capacity that it is. Ace Run Productions. Make sure you jump on theirs. I know they do some special stuff as well. So
yeah. All
right. I think we are going to call it. I got to get packed up. I'm also recording something special with the Disc Golf Pro Tour tomorrow. Simon Lazat's involved. That's your little spoiler.
Who wants to watch that?
Not me. But Simon fans will want to watch Simon, so I'll go along for the ride, I guess.
Just
hang out with that guy.
Riding Simon's coattails. That's what you do.
All I do. That's all I do. I'll keep doing it, damn it. But thank you guys for joining us. Looking forward to a great weekend in Gainesville. Hopefully you guys take in some of that action in the coverage. Next week, we may have some more news and announcements. Maybe even we'll have the Cho winner, but we'll also have some more news and announcements, I'm sure, about our sponsorship and other things changing up in the disc golf community. Yes, damn, I got to go to Florida. Dan Harbeck, we appreciate your love and support, and it was great to catch up with you this weekend, my friend. And I sincerely mean that. It was really good to see you, so thank you for everything. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's been Smashbox TV's podcast 431's After Show. We're heading down to Florida. We'll see you next week. You step inside the Smashbox.